Back on the Pauly Walnuts podcast, baby.
That's totally true. Yeah.
So I want to get right into this mountaineering stuff because you sent me this video. We were talking about your mountaineering stuff. And maximize this here, John. Do a little setup before we hit play.
Okay.
On this thing, because when you sent it to me, I was like, "Holy shit, this is way more than I thought you were doing."
Yeah. So this is on Mount Rainier, and the problem with over the last several years, this is back in 2018, but and it's substantially gotten warmer globally, so the crevasses have gotten bigger and wider, and it's much more dangerous to climb now than it's ever been. And we can kind of talk about that this last trip that my buddy Zach and I did to the Alps.
Yeah.
But on Rainier, it's basically a training mountain for those that want to go climb Everest, because it's a lot of the same types of mountaineering that you're going to encounter. So this particular ladder crossing is what they experience on the Khumbu Icefall in Everest. And so you kind of have to prep for that. This particular one, it was especially scary because we were going pretty quickly to try to get to the summit before it warmed up too much, because as it warms up, those ladders become less stable. So I had a lot of mountaineering experience prior to this, so I think that the guys just kind of let me do my thing, and I didn't really know what I was doing on this ladder crossing. And so when you see in the video I clip into a rope, it's the wrong rope. It's the wrong one. So if I fell off the ladder, I was going into that crevasse.
Oh, jeez.
There's a safety rope that you clip into so that if you do fall off the ladder, it'll catch you. You'll fall, but you'll be suspended and they can try to bring you up. This particular one was not the safety line. So I clipped into the wrong one. And this thing was bouncing. So it bounces up and down as you go. And so it's windy. You're bouncing up and down. You're wearing crampons. So you have these, those they're like spikes in the bottom of your boot that you put on.
Yeah.
So it's extremely unstable. You're really just standing on the two front ones and the two back ones in between the little, the
rungs
ladder,
on the ladder,
the rungs of the ladder. That's right. So you have to position your foot very carefully before you pick your next foot up, because if you're not stable on that one, you're going to go. And it's bouncing the entire time. So it's just, yeah. And you have nothing else to hold on to, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what this one is, and I'm freezing, by the way. I'm just it's so miserably cold.
Double click the center, John, so we're full screen, and then now hit play.
Yeah. So this is me just trying to figure out what rope to do, and you see me clip in.
Yeah, I see you. You're like, which one is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I clipped into the wrong one.
Oh no.
And so you kind of go across, and if I fell, that's it. I would not be talking to you today.
So you're walking. Why do they use ladders to get across these crevasses?
Because there's really no other. They're collapsible and they're easy to get. You can see how deep that crevasse is. It's ridiculously deep. So
yeah, dude.
It's ladders are just easy to transport and they're lightweight. So you have to take them up the mountain. If you have anything that's heavier than that.
What are you thinking when you're going across this thing?
You're not.
Really?
You're really just trying to. It's the amount of focus is incredible. I mean, you would know, being in a situation where it's kind of life or death. You really you're focused, so dialed in on that moment.
Yeah.
There's nothing else but like every single step, and I think that's why I like mountaineering or putting myself in positions like that, because it really kind of takes you away from the distraction of everything else going on in life. It really makes you focus on literally taking one step at a time.
Yeah.
And that kind of hyper focus it's almost relieving in a way, because when you get back down the mountain, you've really just spent quality time thinking nothing but that moment.
Yeah.
It's really neat. It's a really neat experience, and I think that's why I like it.
Yeah, I really do want to do some diving into the neuroscience of that. Like, what is it happening in your brain? Because there's something so satisfying about being in this very focused environment with a specific group of people, and everybody is narrow focused on this one thing.
Yeah.
And we're all accomplishing this task. it's so rewarding, so satisfying.
It really is. And I don't think that we do enough of that in society. We're constantly distracted by our phones going off or, what we have to do next. There's very little approach to just focusing on the moment.
Yeah.
What's important. And I mean, I fail at that all the time. So I have to put myself in these positions in order for me to focus, because it's hard for me to do in my daily life. So, that's like, shooting or something like that, or something that requires like hyper concentration and focus.
Yeah.
I love doing stuff like that because it takes me away, pulls me away from all my other obligations or all my other distractions that I've got. So I think that that's important. I think that people need to find that thing that resonates with them to make them focus on just that moment, because that's really living in that moment. You hear it all the time. People say it. It's kind of cliched, right?
Yeah.
But there is something true to that. It's like living in a moment, a particular moment. It's what those are the moments that you die with. And that's what I love to do.
Dude, those are the moments you die with.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
It's true.
We're going to go back and write that down. Those are the moments you die with.
Yeah.
Because I have another way of framing these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that it's so similar. I have a way of saying it. I say, this is how I know I'm alive.
Yeah.
These moments. It's like doing this thing, being on the side of a cliff, being with the boys, shooting guns, doing our stuff, whatever the thing is that requires that narrow beam of focus. That's how I know I'm alive.
Precisely.
The notifications going off on my phone and the emails and the meetings and all the other BS and stuff, that is nothing, man. I mean, I understand that's what you got to do to get it done. Pay the bills, do your job, your career, your profession. But even in the job, sitting at the desk at the computer, it's one thing to get all these pings and dings, and it's like I can't get any work done. It's like the moment you put everything on Do Not Disturb, I can get some work done.
Right.
I can pull up the data that I've been looking for. I can solve the problem that I've been trying to solve. It's like that uninterrupted time to focus on your job, to focus on, it doesn't have to be outdoor stuff, but just anything where I can focus, those are the real deal. That's the moment. It's
so true. Yeah. I think that, just getting a quiet place, I think is really important. And I have to remind myself to do that. Oh gosh, the whole work from home thing kills me because I'm constantly distracted by like, oh, I should do that laundry or I should pull that weed that's been bothering me when I go look out in the backyard.
Yeah.
It's just really annoying because and it's just this habit that I think that I've personally formed. And I think a lot of people have, especially since COVID, is just like being in a place, you constantly have to feel like you have to keep doing something. And so that's what I'm doing all the time. I'm constantly doing something. Yeah. So I have to like leave. I have to get out. I have to do something in order to kind of make me refocus on what I need to do. Because otherwise I get distracted all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's, you were talking about Zach, and we'll pull up that picture. I think that's the next picture, but we'll pull that up in a second. But I remember, God, it was 5 years ago now that we did that little land nav race.
Oh, yeah.
With Zach, you and Evan.
The orienteering race.
Yeah.
God, that was so much fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I think about that, and it's like, I knew you already, but it's because we were introduced shortly before that.
Yeah.
So you were the only one I actually knew that I had met, and then I met the other guys once we started training for the event and everything. But it's going through those moments. I got to think about my words here, but I feel like I appreciate people more that I go through those kinds of things with than people that I just see at the office.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah, I almost feel guilty for saying that like out loud, right? But it's like, yeah, there's the person at the office or there's the person at the bar that I see it, and we'll go have some drinks every now and then, but it's like I didn't go through anything with you.
Right.
So how do I...
You become foxhole buddies.
Yeah, how do I know who you are? Like
right.
I don't feel this connection. I got to feel like I almost died with you.
Right. Right.
Right?
You do.
Yeah.
Putting yourself in extreme situations with someone else really does help solidify a friendship, but it also helps kind of weed people out too. I mean, if
big time.
I think that sharing that camaraderie with someone is deeply important. As something that people you both enjoy or something like that, or that, people really want to push themselves to try to better themselves or to figure out how far they can push themselves. I admire that.
Yeah.
And I like being with people that want to do that. So.
Yeah. One thing I liked, because when we did the camp and shoot a few weeks ago now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was.
Time went by fast. But
yeah.
when we did that camp and shoot a few weeks ago, and I've shot with you a few times, I like that when we shoot, you're in it, man.
Oh, heck yeah.
You're in the pocket.
Oh, yeah.
You're not distracted. You're like, whatever drill we're doing, like you're focused. You're really, okay, I'm going to go do this. Okay. And then you execute the drill and it's like, you're in it, man. And it's fun to watch you shoot because
cool.
There's people that just shoot like, yeah, we're going to go have fun and shoot and everything. That's totally cool. No shame on that at all. Cause a shooting day is always a good day, but seeing you're in this other world, you're in this other zone where you're like, I'm in this focus zone where like, I want to do this better than anyone else.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's cool to watch.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it harkens back to what I was saying earlier, that I like putting myself in those hyper-focused moments.
Yeah.
And I take it very seriously. I mean, I don't want to mishandle a weapon system that could potentially kill myself or someone else. Right. So I really have to respect that stuff. And it's the same situation when you climb or where you do something, race cars or anything else that requires that kind of focus, because you could make a mistake that could be fatal.
Yeah.
And, I think that, there's something to be said about putting yourself in that situation, but also caring enough and be focused enough to make sure that you don't do that. And there's a sense of accomplishment in walking away from something like that, even if it's as simple as doing drills, shooting, right? It's that kind of adrenaline rush. I'm not really an adrenaline junkie because I'm not a thrill seeker, but it's these moments of accomplishment of putting myself in a situation where I might not come home. And I've done that several times. My mom just kind of gave up on me a while ago, because I would have her over and I would talk to her about like, well, here's the new password for my bank account just in case I don't come home.
Right.
Here is my list of passwords. Here's my insurance policy and stuff like that. And she's, now she just like glazes over it. She's like, okay, I'm just, because there's a chance that, I get on a plane and I go and it's, I have a round trip ticket, but it could be a one way.
Sure.
So.
It's funny you mentioned that because my moms are the same, right? All around the world, excuse me. And anytime I'm doing anything, my mom's like, make sure your living trust is up to date.
Yeah.
And make sure I have a copy of it and make sure this or that. And so I thought about that today. I was sitting in a meeting at work and my mind's drifting because it's just a meeting, right? And sorry,
I've been there, done that.
Sorry, anyone from work listening. You know the deal.
Yep.
But I'm thinking like, yeah, I should do this whole thing where like she even has a list of my master password to stuff, and even more than just a living trust, because I'm thinking about, because I had some those that have watched the podcast and you guys see the memorial band for our friends that were killed over in Ukraine. It's got me thinking about life, and one of the biggest pains in the ass was not the things you would think. It's the minute things about just the processing of, how are we going to figure out his bank account, like you said,
right.
Or how are we going to figure out where where's the deed to his house or whatever, right? It's all that stuff. And I'm thinking like, okay, and I'm in my 40s and I'm now thinking about the importance of those things. I did all this crazy shit in my 20s and 30s and never respected it. And it's like, there are people that will have to pick up the pieces if you do go out. So you got to think about that.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do something, stupid like mountaineering or, doing something that is, risk taking. You could just be driving down the road and be hit by a car and not make it home. So I think it's important for everyone to have that. When, I was fortunate that when my dad passed away when I was younger, I kind of was left as kind of the man of the house and the one that was kind of taking over for finances in the interim. And he was good enough to have kind of pointed some of the stuff out to us before he passed away, but it wasn't all there. And so it was just kind of in pieces. And so it kind of taught me that the importance of having it all kind of organized enough.
Yeah.
Or in one central location where, it was easy for people to call, financial institutions or whatever like that, credit card companies to to figure it out, because in a moment like that, the last thing that a family wants is to think about that. I mean, they're not, unless they hate you, but hopefully that's not the case.
Well,
but that's what I think. It's important for everyone to have something in place like that.
Yeah, I mean, make it easy on your family. Like, especially for guys like you and me, like if we're doing risky things,
right?
Part of that risk is understanding like your family is taking on part of that risk.
Absolutely.
Whether they like it or not.
Right.
And that's part of, like you said, your mom eventually has come to accept it. My mom too. Because I know for sure for me, I won't be happy unless I'm doing something like that.
Right.
I'm going to be miserable.
Yeah.
This is who I am. I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So let me make it as easy on them as possible.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's certain things that you can use online that kind of help you do all that stuff. It's kind of like something in a box where basically it kind of, you can just do it and have a little outline of like medical directives and POAs and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
It's really, really simple to do, and you can do it online. It's very inexpensive. And it kind of is kind of like just a sheet that you fill in yourself.
Yeah.
But it has all the kind of like the legalese. So instead of going out and hiring an attorney that costs you thousands of dollars, you can do it for less than a couple $100 online, and at least you have something. It might not be like the best thing that when you go through like probate or anything like that when someone passes away, but at least you have something to show. And I think that that's really important, especially if you're a vegetable and you're still like kind of there.
Yeah.
You need to have some sort of a medical POA that says, pull the plug. I don't want to be a vegetable in life. Or, heck, I don't know. I mean, if someone's quadriplegic and they don't want to live that lifestyle or something, any number of things that you can outline within a medical POA. But if you're in a coma, your family doesn't understand how, what you're thinking.
Right.
Because you never talked about it. And it's a morbid thing for a lot of people to talk about. So if you do it yourself, then at least there's an outline for your family to follow when and if that does happen. So
what's the POA? What is that?
Power of attorney.
Oh, yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
I think I've got that labeled. Everyone listening is like, get back to the mountaineering. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, no one wants to hear about this, but I mean, we kind of went on a tangent, but I think it's important.
Yeah. All right. We'll leave it at that because no one wants to hear about that.
Okay.
All right, let's get back to some mountain stuff.
Let's get back to the fun stuff. Yeah.
I see you and Zach here. So
yeah.
Double click that one. I think it should just open in the thing and do the little zoom on the bottom right there, John. The arrows.
So,
and then zoom in on it with the screen or whatever. There we go.
I think this is on the top of Parrot Spitze in Monte Rosa. I think that's the name of the mountain.
Okay.
Super narrow, but it was beautiful.
You're above the clouds, man. What's the elevation?
Yeah, that was only 15,000 feet, actually.
Wow.
But it was spectacular. We weren't able to climb, so we were originally gone there to climb Mont Blanc, but it was so dangerous that no guide companies were taking their clients up because the rockfall was killing people. I mean, literally killing people.
Because the ice was melting?
Yeah, so the permafrost has been melting in the Alps because of how hot it's been. And anyone who's traveled to Europe in the last 2 years can attest to this about how hot it's become.
Wow.
I think in Portugal last year, it hit something like 120 or plus degrees, which is unheard of. It's an historical high.
Wow.
And so they've got this massive heat wave, and this is before El Nino, so wait until that happens because I think it starts in September this year. So what happens is that permafrost starts to melt, and that permafrost has been there for millennia, thousands and thousands of years, tens of thousands of years. And as it starts to recede, that rock gets exposed, and the more the permafrost recedes, that rock just starts to crumble away, and it falls down these rock faces, and it will take you out. When we were there's another mountain, it's the highest in Italy, just to train for Monte Rosa. We climbed that one, and there was a boulder the size of your house that was there on the way down that wasn't there in the morning, and it was over the path that we were taking. So I mean, it was just, you'd hear rockfall, it was constant, and it was very, 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 very dangerous. I mean, every time, I've never been to a mountain where at least one person has not died while I've been there. I've climbed 10 mountains. There's never been a time where someone has not died, which is scary. It's an extremely dangerous sport.
Wow, I didn't know it was that frequent.
Yeah, it was. At one point, mountaineering was considered the world's most dangerous sport.
Yeah.
Because of the frequency of death. The amount of people that attempt and the people that die is a very high percentage.
But when you frame it like that, when you say that I'm on this one specific trip, how long are you in? I say in country because it's like a deployment mindset. But how long are you in the zone of the mountain for acclimatization and hiking it, and before you leave on the airplane?
It depends on the climb. So, for instance, in Nepal, when I was there for a little over a month. In the Alps, I think we were there for about a week.
Okay.
So it just depends. But Nepal was extreme. I mean, that's 20,000 foot plus mountains that we were climbing. So
you're in a place for a week, and within a week, someone dies.
Yeah.
Climbing that mountain.
Several people died. And then
really?
I was hearing, yeah. So, in fact, one of them was a professional mountaineer, and she was climbing with her partner, and she took a wrong step because the rock fall, or the rock that she was stepping on, became loose when it normally wasn't, gave way, and she took her and her partner down the mountain. Man. And they both perished. Yeah. I mean, it's just that easy. And that's what I was saying before. You have to focus on every single step. I mean, when you go, think about that next time that anyone goes running or literally just walking down the sidewalk. I mean, think about taking every single step, and it's, you can understand what it's like to climb a mountain, because that you have to focus on every single step. I can't say that enough. It's really amazing. Yeah. It's exhausting mentally.
For sure. Yeah. Because you have to be keyed up the entire time. There's no relaxation.
That's right.
Is this because of climate change, or this is just because of the nature of the beast?
Without getting too political, it definitely is climate change. For sure. The Earth has warmed considerably.
Sure. Well, that's not political. So, I mean, we have science to back that up. So.
It's true. Yeah. Well, for anyone else, but yeah, scientifically, it really is. And we're in a period of warming. And it's, like I said, we've been in La Nina, which is a cooler part. Mm-hmm. Now we're going into El Nino, where the oceans start to warm up.
Sure.
And so storms are going to get worse. We're going to continue to see glaciers recede, permafrost start to recede. This is just the beginning of what could possibly be very, very dangerous climbing conditions. So I'm going to have to be very, very careful. We've got a climb scheduled for July in Mount Shasta, which is a beautiful mountain. It's the first one I ever climbed. But, even there, they've noticed that there's been significant rockfall.
Wow.
It got dumped on this year, so I think that there's been enough freezing, so it should be safe this time. But I know that last year they were getting reports of some pretty serious rockfall. So it's just really dangerous all around the world.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. Not the death or anything, but just the. I mean, I love climbing, so this is.
Yeah, man.
That's why it's awesome to me to hear about.
Yeah. I mean, alpine style is just fun. I mean, I've done rock climbing like what you do. I never really got into it. I enjoyed it, and I've done ice climbing, which is really kind of same in terms of like a vertical wall that you're climbing. I loved it. I loved ice climbing. That was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's that is kind of an adrenaline rush, big time. This is just this long slog, and it's so physically demanding.
Sure.
I mean, it's just you're on a mountain for 12 hours plus.
Yeah.
And all you're doing is carrying a pack up and yourself and trying to not die for 12 hours. It's just rough.
Let's cruise through some other stuff. We'll
Sure.
stay on topic about the alpine stuff, but let's see if we can see what the next picture. We'll get it. You want to do some videos or pictures?
Oh, this is cool. So, did you ever see the
maximize that there, John?
Did you ever see the documentary 14 Peaks? It's on Netflix.
I'm pretty sure that I have. Refresh me on that.
This guy, Mesner, was the guy that climbed all 14 of the highest peaks in the world, but it took him like 7 years to do it.
Yeah.
This guy, who's a Sherpa in Nepal, his name is Nimsdai Sherpa. He did it in 7 months.
What?
The dude is the goat of mountaineering, literally and figuratively. I mean, the guy is amazing.
All right. So I want to invite you to comment on this, because there's this thing where, like, I'm just going to come out and say it. Like, there's this thing where, like, the white climbers are tracking the accomplishments, and those are the ones that are known, and we don't know what the Sherpas are doing, and those are the most badass dudes out there, because they're climbing Everest how many times a year?
Yeah.
And one guy comes out and climbs Everest once, and he goes on TED Talks and stuff, and it's like, dude, there's dudes doing that multiple times a year.
Yeah.
So anyway, I wanted to have you maybe talk about the Sherpas for a minute.
Yeah, this guy in particular is really amazing. You'd respect this. He was actually a Gurkha and SAS, which is he's pretty badass, actually.
This guy was?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What's his background? He's not British, is he?
No, he's Nepalese.
Okay.
And so he served for the Gurkhas and then applied to and made the cut for SAS.
Wow.
Which is, I mean, it's just
what's this dude's name again?
Nimsdai. So he goes by Nims.
Nimsdai.
So it's funny.
Okay.
So we're obviously being a mountaineer, he's like the Tom Brady for us, right? And so we're walking up this path, and we'd just been talking about him, and talking about the documentary with some other climbers. So it was neat. Zach and I were the only Americans actually in our entire group. They were all mostly British and your other Europeans, and so we were talking about it. And as we're walking up this path, we see this guy just like literally just like bumbling down this path and in tennis shoes. I kid you not. He was in tennis shoes. I mean, the guy is
no
that
La
good.
Sportiva.
No. I mean, I'm all geared out, and I'm just like, oh yeah, just like all the safety gear, and we're all roped in. This guy's just like literally running down the mountain in tennis shoes.
Nice.
That's how good he is. And I'm like, I yelled out, I was like, Nims, and he stops and he turns around and hangs out with us for a while, and it's really neat because we got to talk about his charity that he has in Nepal where he's cleaning up a lot of the mountains. So he goes and he cleans up all the trash that it happens by accident. Sometimes a wrapper will fall out of your pocket, and then there's times where people just don't give a shit and they'll just dump stuff, and it's disgusting. It's sad. I've seen it.
Leave no trace, man.
Yeah, I pick up trash. I come down the mountain with stuff in my pockets, typically, just because I want to do my part. But it's really neat that he's got, a kind of a fund, a nonprofit that does this. Especially when you're on Everest, a lot of those oxygen tanks will be left in the death zone, which is above 25,000 feet, because you really can't spend much time, nor do you want to take down that gear.
Yeah.
So it's just littered with oxygen tanks.
Wow, really?
At above 25,000 feet.
Do you know the name of the organization?
Offhand, no, but I know that he's got a website. It could be just the Nimsdai Foundation or something like that.
See, John, off camera, just see if you can find the thing of the Nimsdai Foundation oxygen tanks on the mountain, something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I contributed to it. We talked for a little bit. He's a really cool dude. I mean, it's just really neat. I mean, the guy is just, he's famous, especially in the mountaineering community. I mean, everyone knows him, but
yeah.
So it was kind of neat to spend some time with him, and just cool dude. I love that. And he was there, and it was we were in this lodge that literally just hangs on the side of the mountain, and you get stuff flown in by helicopter, and so that's how you get it all in. And so he just he was there, and we just saw him pile into a helicopter and take off. He's sponsored by Red Bull, so he goes around the world just doing all this really cool stuff for Red Bull. It's really neat.
Sweet. Okay, I saw the hat.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I thought, okay, he's probably got a sponsorship.
Yeah. So it's really neat. His Instagram is fantastic. So,
is this it?
Yeah, that's his website. He's got stuff.
This is it. Well,
that's it.
Let's put this on for people. Yeah. Big mountain cleanup. Go ahead. I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's just a really neat. It's a really neat thing. I think that nature, especially, and when you go out, the last thing you want to do is you want to experience nature or not people's trash. So it's just really kind of neat. And I encourage everyone, if you just walk down the trail and you see a piece, just put it in your pocket, and just do your part, your little part of cleaning up. It's just makes it more pristine, and we got to keep it for the next generation. I'm not going to be doing this for very much longer. It's really dangerous.
It's always a younger man's game, right?
It is always a younger man's game. Oh gosh, I'm fighting back pain, hip pain, knees. I mean, I'm just totally ruined from climbing and other sports injuries. So, I have to. It's managing pain at this point in my life as well as training. So,
yeah. When did you start mountain climbing?
2011. So I've been doing it for about 12 years.
Okay.
11, 12 years. So
I've been at it for a while. A mountain per year, pretty much.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right.
Because it takes a while to go. Let's go through the process. So you're going to plan an expedition. You're doing Mount Shasta. When did you first identify that as the project?
We started talking about it last year.
Yeah.
And I encourage you to join us if you want. It's a really fun climb.
You did mention it to me.
Yeah.
And I may have a European
expedition of your own.
Of my own.
Got it.
So,
that's right. Well,
yeah, we'll see.
So in terms of training, it's kind of like what you do. I mean, it takes time and months to not only prep, but also to gear and logistics, but also physically. So there's only so many climbs that you can do per guide per year on the mountain, and then you have to get permitted by so there's only so many guide companies too. So there's really only very few spots if you want to do it. So in Mont Blanc, boy, it was my second attempt to go to Mont Blanc. The first one, I was ready to go, and COVID happened 3 months later. I was just like, oh my gosh. And I'd been prepping for over a year. I was shredded. I was like, yeah, let's do this. And then COVID happened, and I was just like, the whole world shut down. And so I'm like, well, there goes Mont Blanc. So then I did it again. And of course, global warming shut that down. So, it's kind of my unicorn. But, those type of mountains take a long time to prep for. There's, certain regimen that you go through in order to start training physically.
Yeah.
For something like Mount Shasta, which is it's really a 14er. It's alpine style, so you still have crampons, you're roped in, ice axe, the whole 9 yards. But that's not necessarily a technical mountain. So if it's technical, you really want to train. Or if there's significant weather patterns that are typical for that mountain, you might have to push the pace harder just to summit and come back down within a certain window of weather pattern, which is what happened on Rainier. Actually, it was really, really dangerous. Actually, out of the 22 climbers, there's only 2 people that actually summited. It was me and this other guy from Sweden.
Really?
Yeah. So there's the true summit is called Columbia Crest, and you have to go across. It's all filled in now because it was a volcano. So the pit is all filled in with ice and snow, and you have to walk across that and then go up to where the tallest part of the mountain is, which is another 200 feet. And that's considered the true summit. And the only 2 people that wanted to do it was me because I was stupid, and this Swede. And he was like, well, let's do this.
What was stupid about it?
Because I was exhausted.
Yeah.
What's stupid is that when mountaineering, you're only halfway when you get to the top. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of accidents happen on the mountain because people give too much of themselves to get to the top, and they don't have enough to get down. And that's when you misstep or you make a critical error in judgment, and that's what kills you or kills your partners.
Yeah.
Because you're all roped in. One of you goes down, you're taking other people down with you, and you're just hoping that someone puts their ice axe in fast enough to stop you all from sliding down the mountain. So I think that because the majority of deaths happen on the mountain on the way down, not on the way up.
Of course.
And so, it was kind of stupid of me because I was exhausted already, but decided to push it a little bit farther. I mean, it's fine. I mean, all's well that ends well, but, that was, I don't know. It's kind of something that I probably shouldn't have done maybe, but I don't know.
No, you did it, man.
Yeah.
The thing I think about people is like mentally, well, here's the thing. Physically, you've got way more in the tank than you realize.
Yeah.
Mentally, your brain is screaming, stop, 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 stop. And there's a point where you have to tell the brain, shut the fuck up.
You're right.
I'm doing this. We are doing this. Like, what are you, a little baby? What,
yeah.
Just like, you have to parent yourself, and you have to say, look, man, I've got gas in the tank. The thing that's shutting me down is you.
Right.
And you have the inner conversation with yourself. And so whether you're doing an infill on a little night mission or something, or you're climbing a mountain or whatever the thing is, it's like, I'm committed to doing this.
Yes.
And that's it, man. I'm not going back.
You're so right on that. I think that it takes just as much training of your mind as it is your body in order to overcome all that, because it really is. I mean, my body will shut down at one point, and it did when we were in the Alps. I think our climb on Gran Paradiso, which is that mountain in Italy that I was telling you about, it's the highest one.
Did you have pictures of that?
I don't know if I do or not. I can always send them to you. You can edit it in if you want for something like that. But
no, I'm just looking at. Open up that folder, John. Let's just have Dean take a look.
Yeah, there's the summit approach of Gran Paradiso on the bottom. Oh, the ladder crossing. Yeah, there's actually a lot.
Which one do you want? Just to give the viewers a frame of reference.
I don't know how long these videos are that I sent to you, but you can just click on any one of them if they work.
Yeah, double click them.
I'm not really. Yeah. So
double click that, John, just so it's full screen.
So we had to do this climb. So let's see. It typically takes something like
lower that just a little bit. Just it's at least loud in the room. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that they had to. I think it takes 12 or 13 hours to climb this mountain. And given the extreme heat, what happens is that you cross this crevasse field.
It looks cold as fuck right now.
Oh, it is. It was frigid. So we started at midnight.
Well, you're talking about heat, so.
Oh, it warms up really fast. I mean, you're drenched by about 1 p.m.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It warms up very quickly. I mean, it's still cold. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you're still, it's still around freezing, but it warms up to, 40, and then that's when the crevasses start to really open up, and then you get trapped. So you can't cross the crevasse field, and we almost did. We had to do this climb, which typically takes 12 to 13 hours. We did it in 7. So we were hauling ass. We had 2 breaks, and it was lit. We couldn't even sit down. It was to drink water, and if you had something in your pocket, you could eat it. If you didn't, you're not taking your pack off. Tough luck.
Geez,
so
5 hours off a climb.
Oh my gosh, dude! I cannot tell you how fast we were going. I've never experienced anything. So I was telling you about some of the British people that were on our trip. They were all professional, like Ironmen. And they even were saying, I would rather do 3 Ironmen than do that climb again. That was just brutal, and a lot of them failed. They didn't finish. Some of them didn't make it to the top.
This is you on the camera, right?
That's right.
Okay, so we're watching you go up the ladder.
That's right.
For those that are just listening, Dean is going up this ladder, and he's spanned across the ladder between this giant crevasse. And if he falls off this ladder, he's going for a mega ride.
Oh, that's not going to be fun.
What is it, 100 feet below you or something?
Yeah, at least. Fortunately, I had clipped into the right one this time. So.
Right. Exactly.
It's still nerve-wracking. I mean, you fall. I mean, and those paths are as narrow and as steep as it looks. So, I mean, you really...
Yeah, the lens is not contributing to the narrowness.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty brutal, but
it's great, man.
Yeah. So I mean, that at that point, so going back to the mental fortitude, I was still 500 feet from the summit at least, and I was spent. Zach, who is an ultra marathoner, was done. I mean, he was toast. I mean, we had to coach each other. I mean, we could hear each other. It was just really bad. I mean, we were physically nauseated. We started getting tunnel vision. I mean, it was really bad. At that point, it's all mental. There's nothing else but being mental.
Yeah.
And this is a particularly dangerous one with the girl that was in front of us. She was Danish. She was an ultramarathoner. She was extreme sports, something like that. But this is really her first mountain that she's ever climbed. And she said afterwards that on the plane ride back, she's like, she just broke down in tears. I mean, it's just physically and just emotionally and mentally just wiped out.
Wow.
It was really tough. So, it's those kind of, but I live for it. I mean, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Just masochistic in a way, but I really find a lot of pleasure in just kind of pushing myself mentally. Knowing that I can is a feeling of accomplishment that I can't get really anywhere else.
Yeah.
So.
I love hearing that you can't explain it.
Yeah.
And because I've struggled with that myself. It's like my family, friends, they can't explain why I went to Ukraine or why I wanted to go do some of the mountain stuff I've done or half of the shit that I do, right? It's like I don't know. I just know that I need it.
It's interesting. I don't know if it was in 14 Peaks, but Reinhold Messner, who was the guy that climbed the 14 Peaks before, he mentioned something about how when he talks to other mountaineers, and if they can give him a straight answer as to why they do it, they're not considered a mountaineer.
Really?
So he says that it's the person who's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's the person that he knows. It's like a true mountaineer. Now, I've been saying it for years. This is long before I saw the documentary, and I'm not repeating what he said. But it is that kind of feeling. Like, it's really unexplainable as to why you do it. It's just this feeling. It's like I don't know. It's ingrained in you. And something that I think that no one can really understand until they do it. I'll give you a story. I mean, Zach got into mountaineering because I took him up Mount Hood with a couple of other friends. And for a long time, he never really wanted to join me on any of these trips. I had invited him, but he said no. Wasn't his thing.
Sure.
So finally he was like, all right, I'll do it. And I was like, trust me, man, when you stand on top of the mountain, you will understand. And when we stood on top of Mount Hood, we made eye contact and he just nodded his head, didn't say a word. And that was it. He knew exactly what it meant. And so for me, that was a kind of a a prideful father in a way moment.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, good. You now you get it. And I think that, it made me really proud that someone decided to go outside their comfort zone or do something that they didn't necessarily want to do, and then realize the glory and the accomplishment of doing that. And now he's hooked.
Sure.
He'll probably do this longer than I am. And I'm proud of him for doing that. I think I'm proud of anyone who decides to step out of their comfort zone and do something like that. And it doesn't have to be dangerous. Just doing something that's different. I mean, eating something that you don't necessarily want to eat. You don't like sushi. Try it. You might like it. You know. I appreciate people that do that kind of thing, and I try to do that as much as I can as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to instill that in my daughter, because kids just want to do what they want to do, right? They just want to do what they know, and that's it. And it's a flexing thing. You're trying to work mental muscles in them that they don't know that they have, and part of that is just the exploration of the world and just explore different things. Try the sushi, try this country, try this whatever. Yeah. Try this thing you've never seen before. And I think exploring life is so vital, so necessary. And like Zach's experience of just being on that summit, him nodding at you, like I relate to that. Because my background is technical climbing, is doing vertical faces. You get everyone watching, you'll see the gear in the background. Because we're talking about mountaineering, I wanted to throw some
good
some climbing gear here just for fun. But it's like at the beginning, it's just like doing single pitch stuff, like 60, 100 feet. At some point, that rope is spent. And then you come back down, that's a single pitch, and you're working on like maximum effort, maximum difficulty in that length of rope.
Wow. Yeah.
And then you start doing multi-pitch where, okay, now I'm going to get to the top of pitch number 1, bring my partner up, and then we're going to go to pitch number 2 and start doing multi-pitch stuff. And then so that becomes a different level of technique. And then you start working on the gear and you start doing all that stuff. And it's like there's this satisfaction of just knowing like, I'm accomplishing a thing I couldn't accomplish before. And I don't know. I don't want to say that it's a gender thing. I just know for me as a man, that's necessary. For me not to have that, I would be half the person I am.
Yeah.
I have to know what it is to be stretched to my absolute limits. I got to know what the red line is. And then I got to see if I can push past that red line.
Yep.
I have to have it.
Yep. I do the same thing.
Otherwise, I'll go crazy. I don't know why, but I need it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why either, and I'm sure that any psychologist would love to dive into that with me. But and it could be just growing up and having, God, I don't know. On my 21st birthday, I went to like 2 or 3 funerals for family. I was drinking for all the wrong reasons, kind of thing. And I could say it's just being around, and especially you. I mean, just seeing life and death that firsthand, kind of like that. I guess it just makes me really appreciate life so much more, that I want to push myself in very dangerous situations, which doesn't make a lot of sense. It seems very illogical.
Yeah.
But I think that that's part of my understanding, and how I cope with that, I think, is me wanting to make sure that I'm living, for those that aren't.
God, that's so good, man. That's absolutely it. My mom was diagnosed with cancer in 2018, and so I'm in Vegas, Las Vegas, where she lived at the time, and I'm like handling all that. It's like I'm in family mode, right?
Yeah.
Like full blown disconnect from everything else so I can take care of this emergency, basically. And so bought a house, used my VA loan, bought a house in Vegas, and that's now my residence, even though I'm traveling for work, but that's where she can live and have the house, and she's doing her treatments and all that stuff. the cool thing is that the house was, for those that know Las Vegas, you have Red Rock, where there's all the technical climbing, tons of hiking.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful, but
Yeah.
a lot of awesome sandstone. For people that love sandstone climbing, like this is the Mecca, man. I mean, it is the place to do sandstone climbing. While I'm talking, John, pull up Red Rock in Vegas. Some
You know where the Narrows are too, and like in the Narrows there at the park. What's the national? Isn't it the national park? It's right.
I don't know if it's called the. Is it called the Narrows?
It's that cool canyon.
The second row, the second picture. Just pull that up and put that
beautiful.
max. Zoom in on that and just go back to the Google Pictures one and just zoom in on the screen.
Yeah, see, I think that's...
And share that one. So this is, I don't know which canyon or whatever this is because there's a lot of rock there. Oh, man, we lost it.
I think the Pacific Northwest, the Southwest is probably one of the most beautiful parts of our country.
Try to, I love the Red Rock stuff there. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so... I mean, in there's just hundreds of routes all tucked away and around the backside and everything, and it's a beautiful spot. So the house I bought was between Red Rock and then Mount Charleston.
Oh, wow.
Which has granite climbing and tons of hiking and a bunch of, quasi... alpinism is not the right word, but anyway, the more like hiking, climbing kind of stuff, right? There's peaks and stuff.
Sure.
So house is between there, and so while she's resting and stuff like that and doing her treatments, I'm close to all this rock, and I'm like, jackpot. And so, like you said, while I'm facing death, I'm facing life, I'm facing the consequences of all this stuff, what do? I hit up, for those that know technical, do you know about Mountain Project?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so Mountain Project is mainly for like technical climbing. So
Okay.
if you want to meet up with people or there's routes you want to find or whatever, it's all over the world. So I can find routes in Cuba, I can find routes in Mexico, the U.S., wherever I want to go climb. I can find technical climbing. There's also a partner finder. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. So I hit up, and it's much easier than what you're doing because you have to plan expeditions and all this stuff, and you gotta know. But for technical climbing, you can mostly just meet up with brand new people because they have their profile on there and you see what they've climbed.
Yeah.
So you can see, this dude's climbed 100 of this route, 200 of this route. And so it's his profile basically of like what his strengths are. And I'm like, okay, I know that as long he spent the time to curate and build this profile of what his climbs are, he's not bullshitting,
Right.
I know he can do it. Right. So it's like, so I was looking for a partner to just go do something, just to get out and touch some rock. This one dude was, there's a thing, in like, this in mountaineering, there's a thing where people wanted to do the first ascent of something.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
So I found this post for Partner Finder. This dude wanted to do a first ascent of this one peak. And so if you look on Mountain Project, East Pincushion Peak, outside of Vegas, the south face or the north face, I don't remember the map on Vegas, but one of those faces had never been ascended. The backside of it had been hiked by a ton of people, and there is a summit with the box where people sign the thing, or that deal.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Everyone knows.
Yeah, we have them on top of certain mountains.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. So you sign the ledger and you put something in the box or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. That's the deal. No one had ever ascended the face that he wanted to do. So we did this. I call it desert alpine because I don't know what else to call it, but it's like this terrible approach through this flat desert thing to get there. There's no easy way to get to this thing. You gotta haul all the way in. So we walk all the way in, and then this long ass hike approach to get to the faces, and then we get to the faces, and then there's technical climbing. So we climb a few pitches of technical climbing, putting in trad gear, traditional climbing gear like cams and nuts and stuff in the rock. So we get to the top of that, and then it's like a hike, and then there's some more technical climbing. And it was one of those things where it was like, any second now we're going to see this summit thing, and we'd do a couple pitches and then hike and come over this thing, and there's more shit. And you're like, dude, this thing is never going to end.
Fall summits. Yeah.
Is that what it's called, the fall summit?
Yeah, I mean, Mount Shasta has one. It's brutal because think you've reached the top, and then it's not, and there's a lot more to go, and it's so defeating. Yeah. So I know what that feels like.
So I wish I had the picture prepped for today. It'd take too long for John to dig up, but we finally get to the top, and it's one of those things where the clouds are below you, and it was so weird because we're in Vegas. Las Vegas, you don't think the elevation on stuff is that high, but I mean, we're above the clouds in this thing. And we did a first ascent of this peak.
That's awesome. Like, congratulations. That's really cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
It's nothing like as high as what you're doing, but just incorporating the technical climbing, it was like
absolutely.
It was a really fun experience to do.
It's a really good accomplishment. Oh, hell yeah.
But
hats off.
All of that to say, thank you. But all of that to say is like in the midst of me going through this struggle with facing the potential death of my mother, I'm going out to potentially go kill myself.
Right. No, I get it. I totally get it. That's right. Yeah.
Does that make sense to anyone?
It totally makes sense. I mean, I think that's exactly right. I mean, and it takes your mind off things. I think it kind of resets you a little bit as to I mean, that's why I encourage people to go do some stuff. I mean,
yeah,
it doesn't have to be like this. Just find something that really takes you away from things and rebalances you. And I think that's kind of why I do it. And maybe it's that once a year trip where it's just kind of like, I just need to get out. I need to get away from things, and I need to push myself. Just knowing that I can, instead of getting into this rut, which we all get in. It's very easy to get there, and you become complacent and lazy. So every so often I need a wake up call and just be like, I need a slap in the face, and I do it to myself. And it's by doing this stuff. Yeah. So kind of gets me out and gets me back into the, feeling that life again and getting excited about living. So
what did you do? So you said 2011 or 2012 you got into?
Yeah, so 2011 I think was my first climb. Is actually Mount Shasta in Northern California. It's beautiful, by the way. It's Shasta National, I think it's a national park or state park, but it's beautiful country up there. It's a little north of Napa Valley. And so it's just this beautiful country, kind of Pacific Northwest, but still California. It's really pretty. Yeah. As you get to the summit, it's really the only mountain around. You're driving around, and it's all flat, and all of a sudden this mountain comes out of nowhere, and it's a volcano, and it's still active, by the way. And so when you reach the summit, you try to reach it before dawn, and as the sun comes up, it casts its own shadow on the valley. It's so cool. Oh, sweet. It's really, really neat. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to see because it grows. The shadow starts, then it grows, and it goes all over the valley, this flat land. It's really kind of neat. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So what's your wake up time, like 0200 or something? Yeah, at least. So it depends on the conditions, but it's going to be, between midnight and 2 a.m. is the start. And so you're climbing with headlamps for a good portion of the climb. That's always fun. I like that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. Especially if you're in the middle of nowhere. The stars and the moon just kind of illuminate the rest of it. It's beautiful. Yeah. There's nothing like it, man. It's really cool. And then if you're with different groups, you can kind of look back and just see all these little headlamps going up the mountain like little ants, and it's kind of neat. It's kind of a cool experience. Is there anything where they're doing like night vision, night optics, or anything like that? No, although that would be pretty cool. The problem is that you want to decrease the amount of weight to as minimal as possible. Yeah. So you get nogs or something like that. That's gonna seriously increase the amount of weight that you have to carry up the mountain because you want to just take as little as possible. Yeah. Yeah, because now that it may be a dumb question, because if you have the white light on the headlamp, it's probably better visibility anyway. It is. I mean, I tend to. It also keeps your peripheral vision too, sure. And so I can kind of see what other climbers are doing. I can see where there might be, if I go too far to the right, that goes right into a crevasse or off a cliff, or it helps find a better route that way too. Yeah. But I'm also going with guides. I try not to do I never do a solo climb. And I try to always make sure that I hire a guide who is familiar with the mountain to kind of go up with us. Sure. So that also helps. Yeah, when you say solo, like you and a guy by yourself with solo would just be me. Okay. Literally just me. Sure, yeah. And that's super dangerous because of course, yeah. But have you done it without hiring a guide? Have you done anything like that? No. I just find that it takes one less thing off
Sure.
of worrying, because now they're familiar with the routes that are the safest of the mountain.
Yeah.
So now I can just focus on, what I've been trained to do and stuff like that. I mean, hiring a guide does not mean that it's any less dangerous
No,
or
not
any
at all.
less, fatiguing. So I think that, it just eliminates that one possibility of me not getting the correct route and not making it up the mountain because I took a wrong turn somewhere, or worse. So.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you pointed that out, because hiring a guide, it doesn't make it any less of what it is. You're absolutely right. And for those listening that aren't familiar with it, like even in technical climbing, like there are guide books where I don't necessarily know the area or the people or the routes or where even to sleep at night.
Yeah,
where do I
point.
sleep the night before? And so these guidebooks have all that information about, like, here's where you change your money, here's where you get food, here's all this. And so the guidebooks include a ton of stuff so that I don't have to figure everything out, because we all work for a living. We're trying to travel to a place we've never been before. We don't know anyone there. Like, it's such an ass pain to try to figure all that out.
For sure.
Let me just read a little bit about how to make this a little bit easier.
Right.
There's no reason not to do that.
I mean, when I was in Italy, and I think it was Italy, Switzerland, and France where we were climbing, my German is sehr schlecht, and my Italian and French are pretty bad. So the last thing I need to do is try to learn another language to get around. Why not hire a local guy that can actually get me places and can drive me around too at the same time? So,
Sure.
it eliminates that too.
Yeah,
Because that's
speak
just
the
as
language.
stressful.
They know the roads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Precisely. Yeah.
What was the? I love the. I don't know if you remember this guy, but you invented a character named Hans. Do you remember this?
No, wait, what? No.
We were doing the land nav course, the orienteering course we did.
Yeah.
What is that called?
It's
the
an
race?
orienteering race.
Orienteering race. Okay.
Yeah.
So we were doing that, and on the drive.
Which, by the way, should we explain what that is?
Yeah,
by
sure.
the way,
Go
so
ahead.
it's like, so basically it's a 24-hour race. So you start. I think we start at midnight and ends at midnight or something like that,
something like
or
that.
noon
Yeah.
to noon,
noon or yeah,
noon to noon. I think it was noon
yeah.
to noon.
Yeah.
And they have these like little markers. They're the size of a beach volleyball. They're like a triangle, like an orange triangle on the size of a beach volleyball, and they're hanging in random places. And we were in the Appalachians, in the Blue Hills or the Blue Mountains or whatever it is. And so there's really no paths or anything like that. It's kind of a hunt for these things. And the person who collects the most, and they all have different point systems based on where they're located. And the person who collects the most wins the race.
Yeah.
But you're really only sent out with a compass
And a map.
and that's it.
That's it.
You can't use your phone. You can't use GPS. It's cheating. Plus, it doesn't even work anyway. I mean, there's no cell service. So it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But it's so basic. It was literally just a map, and I still have it. I have it framed in my house.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Where in the house?
It's in the hallway, going in my offies.
Oh man,
I'll show it to you next time.
show it to me.
Yeah,
That's
because
cool.
it was. It's kind of actually some of it's kind of drenched from all that rain, because basically it rained the entire time we were there too. That was miserable. At one point I was like, oh, I should change socks, and then I was just like, that's pointless. I'm just going to get wet all over again, and this is a race that just takes away time.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that was a tough race, because we were bushwhacking basically to try to get some of the stuff, and we weren't the best orienteers. I mean, let's be honest. We got lost a couple of times. We kind of knew what we were doing, but the rain swelled the rivers so much in the creeks that the map made very little sense in terms of like where we were. At one point, we were just like, where are we? And we were all trying to do this with headlamps, and I think I didn't have mine or something like that. I don't know. There's only 2 out of the 4 of us that had a headlamp.
Remind me, did we split up where it's 2 and 2, or was it always all 4 of us?
We were all 4, and
I can't, because I remember it being split up with just me and Evan at one point, but I don't remember why. Like we were trying to find a path.
Yeah, we might have split up for. I think that there was a section in the beginning where there was a whole bunch of these markers on one part of the map, and then there were some markers on the other side of the map, and then we would reconvene at, I don't know.
Yeah, I think we could split up.
1,400 hours or something like that.
Yeah,
back at the RV park or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, I have a little bit of an ego hit there because I feel like I always knew where I was, but it was the finding the path of least resistance that was the real challenge, because they had some big storm right before the event, and there was shit all
during the event.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
Well, before because all the trees were all torn down, everything.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
everything. So we're stepping over like fallen trees, and it was really difficult to navigate. So they had some like unprecedented big storm out there right before the event.
Yeah.
And so I remember this one thing, because you go so many miles and eventually you'll come across some trail. I mean, the U.S. is just pretty carved up that way. So at some point you'll see a trail. And so the map showed a trail, and we get there, and it's just 8,000 trees all falling over. There is no trail anymore.
No, there's no trail.
Oh, dude, we thought we had an easy path, and there's nothing.
We're climbing over these giant trees to try to stay on the path.
It was brutal.
There was no path of least resistance that day. That was really tough.
I had no frame.
It was super fun.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. But there.
Remember the one? I'll let you hold on.
Go ahead.
Remember that one when it was, so Evan had pieced out. So it was you, me, and Zach. And remember when Zach just kind of like fell into like this mental like rut, and he wasn't responding to any of our questions. So like, Zach, how you feeling? And he was just like literally trudging up that hill in between the two of us, and he was just kind of like bouncing in between us just to kind of stay vertical. I mean, that guy hit the wall hard, but he kept going, which was really impressive, actually.
Yeah.
And you and I were just having a conversation, walking up the hill, trying to find the next marker, and Zach just like, I just remember at one point, Zach just like breaks out of the wall, and he's like, "Hey guys, what's going on?"
I do
just
remember that.
I was like, "Welcome back, Zach." That was awesome. I was like, "Wow, that guy!" Talking about mental fortitude. That guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what demons he was battling at that moment. He got it. He got out of it though.
There is that second wind that comes out of nowhere, and all of a sudden you got more gas in the tank. It's just something in your brain, man. We talked about it earlier. Like, there's something in your brain that when you tell yourself, "I'm doing this," you're just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then at some point, the mind, the body accepts that this is the new reality. This is the new baseline. Okay, then I'm going to do this. And all of a sudden, everything's okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Like, what is that?
I will say, though, that I'm sure that there's probably someone who's like, well, if it was a race, where'd you guys come in? And I will say, we weren't last. We weren't last because there were several teams that dropped out because the conditions were so miserable that a lot of people didn't want to finish. So we came in last of the people that were still out there, but we weren't last on the official sheet. So I do have to say that. I think that we
didn't
came
bail.
in we did not bail.
No.
Yeah.
A lot of people bailed.
A lot of people did. A lot of teams bailed.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So land nav for me is something I have a lot of experience with. Racing to 100 points in 24 hours is new.
Yeah, no kidding.
That was
it's
something.
Tough.
So I didn't understand the mechanics of that kind of event, and so we thought we're doing a pretty good job or whatever. And then the one kid or whatever that came in first place. I mean, this kid smoked the whole thing.
He was some Spaniard or something like that. They came all from all around the world.
He's all by himself.
Yeah,
he had no help. This kid smoked this event, and I'm like,
I think he got all of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
And he came in early. He came in before noon.
And the radius was what, like 5 miles? No, it was a lot. That map was huge.
It was a giant map, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the radius was on that race, but it was miles.
Well, I do know from like the center point out to the furthest one of whatever each corner, I know that was like an hour and a half haul.
Yeah.
To that furthest one. And that's like
a good amount.
And then
of time.
when you're an hour and a half away, and now you're trying to get to something on the other side of the map. Now,
I mean, we were out there for 24 hours.
Yeah, it was long distances for sure, and you're moving nonstop for 24 hours. I mean, we had that little break in the middle where we
right. I remember us going back to the hotel, ordering pizzas, crashing. And then I think we woke up like 3 hours later and just started pounding drinks at the local bar or something like that.
Oh, that's right. Dude, your memory is so much better than mine because I think there was like so much fatigue. It's gone. It's it's like my brain roofied me. Like I have no memory of
you and I were rooming or something like that. Yeah. We just passed out.
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
That was good.
I mean, staying up for 24 hours is a feat in and of itself.
Sure.
But then going out and doing this in absolute downpour with these giant bugs. I kid you not, these things were the size of my hand, and there's no light, and obviously it's raining, so there's no sunlight, there's no or moonlight, there's no stars. I mean, it's just pitch black.
Yeah.
But these bugs loved light. I mean, they were attracted to these things, and they had these giant beady red eyes, and I have never screamed like a little schoolgirl in my life when these things were attacking me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a hummingbird coming straight from your face, because that's where your headlamp is.
That's
it's on
where it
your
is.
forehead, and so it's coming straight for you. And I remember taking my trekking poles and trying to swat them like I'm playing in the World Series, like the home run derby. I swear, I only got a few of them, but I mean, scared the living Jesus out of me, those things. I still can't find out what those things were.
I totally forgot that they even existed until you just mentioned it now.
And I kid you not, these things were giant. They're bigger than cockroaches. They were meaty. I mean,
they had beef on them.
You could put them in between a hot dog bun and have a meal. I mean, these things are huge. I'm not kidding. Like little smokies. I mean,
the visual.
Yeah,
A little Vienna sausage.
yeah, little Vienna sausages fucking flying right at your forehead. It's terrible. It's the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Oh, Jesus.
I hate bugs, and I don't know why I go out in nature, but especially ones that fly. Ugh.
Now I understand why you're doing alpine stuff.
Yeah, exactly. There's no bugs above the tree line. It's just flies, which are annoying themselves, but I'm not scared of those things, at least. Yeah.
I do remember turning my headlamp off at times
Yeah.
because I just didn't want them to zero in on me.
But it was pitch black. I mean, it was pitch black. You had to leave it
what
on.
I would do is I would look up ahead and I'd see, okay, I see the next 50 feet.
That's smart.
Pop off my headlamp and I would just trudge through that 50
I did not
feet.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kept mine on, screaming like a little girl in the back. You're probably wondering what was going on. At least I scared off all the bears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, right. They don't want to go near that.
No.
Good luck with all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I'm going to find the next victim.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, anyway, during that whole event, which was a lot of fun, we were on our way back, and I remember you invented this character named Hans.
This is called checking out mentally. I have no idea. I must have been just drunk on lack of sleep.
Hans, you'll remember this when I give you the frame of reference. Hans is a German guy that he was trapped in time, and he only has a memory going up to the 1980s.
Yes.
Do you remember this?
Yes, I do remember this. Oh my gosh, yes, I do.
So all your
remember
references,
this. Yes.
all your pop culture shit is about like Knight Rider and like Alf and stuff.
I do remember this. This is very embarrassing for me. I do remember this. Yeah, it was like, yeah, you're right. Knight Rider came up, the original Top Gun. Oh yeah, I do remember all that stuff.
Yeah, have you seen the new movie Top Gun? It's great.
Yeah, this is Top Gun. Yeah, this is very good. It's a very fun movie. This is very good. And that Alf character just makes me laugh all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hans. Hans was a character. He's what got me through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling you, like, dude, you got to do a podcast with just Hans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome, Paul. Thanks for sitting with me today.
Yeah, thanks, Hans. So, what have you been up to lately?
Oh, all the things. Just sitting here with you. It's fun.
Yeah. You seen any cool movies lately?
Let's see. That was fun. The Breakfast Club. It's very good.
Yeah.
Yes. There's some people in this room laughing at me. It's a new movie that just came out. It's called The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the social issues going on in your world lately?
Well, there's this wall in my country.
A wall.
It's really annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have some cousins on one side. I have some cousins on the other side. They can't see each other. It's very difficult.
I'm highly confident that they'll see each other soon.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, thank you for that. Yeah. That makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it'll be a great victory for your country.
Good. Lots of schnapps.
Lots of schnapps. You ever drink schnapps?
Yeah. There is this, my first foray into schnapps was when I did my study abroad in Vienna, and I went skiing in Zellamsee with some roommates.
When was this?
Let's see. So it'd be my junior year abroad. So it was 2001. So the spring of 2001. So right before 9/11. Which, oh Jesus, we won't get there. But we went to this. They take après ski very seriously in Europe. And so that's where everyone parties at the end of the day. There's this hut halfway down the hill, down the mountain, and everyone kind of gathers there. And I've never seen more drunk Europeans in my entire life in this tiny little like shack of a hut, and they were just passing around bottles of schnapps, like not pouring shots, literally just everyone's taking swigs out of bottles of schnapps being passed around, peppermint schnapps. So everyone had the best breath in the world. It was great. I had no problem sitting next to drunk Germans with good breath.
Drunk Germans with good breath.
Hans's favorite. Yeah, it's the peppermint schnapps.
Yes.
So yeah, it's like this thing. I mean, it's just like some cultures have like Slivovitz, like in the Eastern Europe. It's like plum brandy, which is disgusting. I think that stuff is hideous. But yeah, schnapps is like, it's like water. It's like vodka for Russians. Like it's crazy. Okay. Yeah.
Can you drink it straight?
That's the only way to drink it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't mix it or anything?
I mean, you can, but I mean, you put it in hot cocoa and stuff like that. So a lot of people will put it in that.
A peppermint schnapps hot cocoa?
It's really good.
That I could do that right now. That sounds amazing.
It's so delicious.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always heard of the peppermint, but then I hear people doing like peach and
there's different kinds of schnapps.
Business.
Yeah.
I don't know if that tastes good though.
I think peppermint is like I think that's like the kind of the original, the go-to. Because a lot of people, so you can order it like peppermint schnapps hot cocos are great in the winter. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
For sure.
So 2001 is before you were doing mountaineering. I'm trying to kind of vector in on like, how did you end up deciding to do this? Like, what was the trajectory? You're doing skiing, obviously, before that. Yeah.
I had walked onto the Boston College ski team. We were D1. So it was really fun. I'm trying to think. So that was 98 when I walked onto that ski team. So I think that and I loved history. So one of my degrees was in history. So Austro-Hungarian Empire and studying that was just kind of, I wanted to be there and study it.
Yeah.
And kind of live it. So everything that I studied, I could actually physically go see. It was really kind of neat and just really immerse myself in it. And of course, since I was on the ski team, naturally, get a good snowfall you take a train straight to the Alps, to Salzburg or Zellumsee or something like that. It was really cool. It was really fun. Yeah. But it's weird. Skiing in Europe is very different than in the US because it's kind of above the tree line in a way. It's very strange. And there's really no ropes. Like there's off limits on a lot of peaks here in the United States, but in Europe it's like pretty much free for all. And like they'll have a sign that says, if you go this way, you could die, but go ahead and do it if you want. And I think it's called off-piste. And so a lot of people did. We did. My roommate was really good skier, and he took a left, and I was following him, and sure enough, we were off-piste at this moment, and he goes off a cliff, and we didn't know this route. Like I don't know how he knew that how tall this cliff was, or maybe he didn't and just did it anyway. So he goes off this cliff, and I for sure thought he was dead. I was like, oh my God, my roommate is dead. And so I slow down, and I'm inching towards the end of the cliff and kind of peered over. And it was hard because, you always have that snow overhang. So you never know if you went too far because it could collapse on you. So I'm trying to peek over, and sure enough, I see him skiing down. And so I'm like, well, crap. So I jump off this thing, and it was awesome because it's only like 20 feet, but it goes right into this snowbank. So it's really cool. So it's like this giant cushion.
Hit the power.
So yeah, it was awesome. But we ski down, and it's like you ended up in time, back in time. Everyone was wearing lederhosen, and there was like horse-drawn like sleds, like carriages, but they're sleds, and it was like all these houses were like A-frame, like Alps style like houses, and no one spoke any English. And fortunately, my roommate spoke better German than I did, or else I would be Hans stuck in the 1880s. And so we finally got directions to the bus stop that would take us back to the resort. But it was just this very odd moment where we kind of got lost and ended up in this town that, I don't know, hasn't seen electricity in ever. It was really interesting.
That's amazing, man, that you can just go off of one end of the mountain to the other side and all of a sudden
Totally.
it's just in a village somewhere.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah,
I loved it. It was a really strange and wonderful experience at the same time.
It does sound cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. The Alps are great.
I remember you had mentioned something to me in your bio. Something happened with your leg.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Was that from skiing?
No. So I woke up. This is a here, I'll clear my throat there. So I was 17 years old. So I was going to be a senior in high school. And I woke up one morning and I was in excruciating pain. I mean, I couldn't even move my jaw. Like, all of my joints hurt. I couldn't even move my jaw. It was that painful. Like, it was just, and so I started to kind of do that, without moving my jaw, trying to talk. And I was obviously at home. My mom was vacuuming or something like that, so she couldn't hear me. And I was just laying there in pain. And finally she heard me and came in and tried to move me. And I can't describe to you the kind of pain that is associated with this. So she gets me in my dad's office roller chair after just, I don't know if I was in and out of consciousness or something because of the pain. It was just really awful. Gets me to the emergency room. They put me on immediate antibiotics, had me there in the hospital. It's kind of blurry just because of everything that was going on. I remember at one point I got a lot better, but then this whatever I had metastasized into my knee, and it was the size of a volleyball.
Jeez.
And so I couldn't even put on pants. I had to wear like these big shorts. And I remember my dad, this is about 10 years before my dad passed away. And I remember the doctor coming in and he pulled out this giant needle. I mean, you could see the hole. I mean, it was huge. And so he'd stick that into my knee to get fluid out to, test and to drain the knee. And that was, in and of itself, was extremely painful because it goes right into the knee to pull it out. But I remember when they were walking back out of the room, the doctor closed the door, but then it didn't close it all the way, and it kind of swung back open. And I overheard the doctor tell my dad that we're going to have to amputate above the knee.
Oh, Jesus.
And so I, of course, freak out, and they were kind of prepping for that. And my dad was like, well, there's got to be something that we can do. And they're like, we don't know what he has. And this is going to go gangrene and it could spread to his body and, he's going to die. So he doesn't have much time. So if you want to figure this out, you've got like 3 days in which to do this. So no doctor knew what was going on with me. They had no idea what I had contracted. They do now, but it's very rare. So my dad had exhausted all the medical journals, and this is 1997. So internet was not really as developed as it is now. So really it was kind of old school, going through medical journals, going through books. And finally he was just like, you know what? He saw a book on a veterinarian book. And so he's like, I've exhausted the human aspect. Let's just go to the animals. And he started looking up this thing called a parvo virus. And it matched all of my symptoms. And what a parvovirus does, and it's especially prevalent in cats and felines, they contract this parvovirus and it freezes their joints and their muscles into such excruciating pain that they starve to death. They really don't. That's what it is. Parvovirus B19 is what I had. And
quick interjection, I'll just read this real fast. Parvovirus B19 infects only humans. You can have a range of symptoms depending on your age and overall health. About 2 out of 10 people who get infected with this virus will have no symptoms. Symptoms, I'll just read real fast. A mild rash, illness that affects children. Adults can get infected with parvovirus, resulting in fifth disease too. I don't know what that is. Less common symptoms include painful or swollen joints. There you go. So you had a very rare, less common, which is more common in adults, and severe anemia, a condition in which the body doesn't have enough healthy red blood cells. In rare cases, some of these symptoms can persist for a long time. Okay, so go ahead.
So you can see down here that pet dogs and cats get infected with other parvoviruses that do not infect humans. So basically what happened was that, and this is new because at the time they didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah.
And so we obviously this particular kind of parvovirus is what we can get as humans, but it's super rare. And so I remember going in, and they had the medication after they figured it out was kind of like the same medication that they give to cats and dogs for their parvoviruses. And so they had this medication that the CDC had to like get or something like that. So I was in the infectious disease ward at Presbyterian Hospital here in Dallas. And it was weird too, because they didn't know. This is about the same time that the hantavirus in New Mexico, which is kind of like Ebola, like it's really dangerous. Like the death rate is really bad for hanta, and it's spread by rat feces. And so they thought maybe that's how I got it, or maybe that's what it is, but it's highly contagious. So I was kind of in that for like a day or two. I was kind of in that it's kind of like the movie where you got the plastic bubble around the bed kind of thing.
Oh, you had that?
Yeah, and people were coming in with like hazmat suits on, kind of like looking thing. It was like straight out of a movie, and it's really weird to be
like
on that.
E.T.?
Yeah, like E.T. It's really weird, and I remember that we finally got the medication, and which kind of solved it. And I think it lies dormant. Excuse me. Yeah, I think it lies dormant, so I don't think it ever really goes away. But it solved that problem, but the problem is that the knee was so screwed up at this point, so they had to go in and perform surgery, and they had to take out all the cartilage from my knee. And so for several days when I was in the hospital, they had me on this mechanical kind of bridge that kept my knee going 24 hours a day, because otherwise my knee would fuse and I would just have one giant peg leg, because that's yeah. And so I literally had to like kind of, so that the bone wouldn't fuse together and create, like I said, one giant peg leg. They had me on this thing, and it was just like I had to sleep with it. I had to do like, it was just, and it was painful. Sure. So it was just like, it was awful experience. I remember that after I'd gotten through it, the orthopedic surgeon came through and he said, look, this is what we did. But I got to tell you, it's going to be really hard, and you may never really walk again. Like, it's going to be really hard for you to like have a normal life again. And we're going to put you through PT, and we're going to try to get you back as best you can. And it's hard for a 17-year-old kid to hear that. I mean, that I might not have a normal life, and be able to do normal things is just really hard to hear. And I vowed that wasn't going to be me. And I went to PT with this, I'm gonna fucking beat this. And I never knew I had that in me, because I never really proved that before. In all 17 years, I never really knew that I had that kind of motivation or that mentality before. And I think that's kind of what sparked this whole thing, and why I climb mountains and stuff like that, and why I joined the ski team and stuff like that, is to prove more of like, I can overcome all this stuff. And I remember when I walked onto the ski team, it was just like, that was kind of my crowning achievement of like, I really kind of overcame this. And yeah, that was really the next year that I did that. And so yeah, it's tough. That was a really tough time, and I lost a ridiculous amount of weight. I was overweight for a long time, and I remember going back to school, and I had shaved my head, and just because I was in the hospital for so long, and just shaved it off, that I went back to school and I lost all this weight, and everyone thought I had cancer. So all the in a funny way, all the popular kids that used to make fun of me were all like really nice again, because they thought I was dying from cancer. Geez. So I totally played it for a while. Yeah, but yeah, that was tough. That was a really tough part of my life for sure. But it kind of goes back to, it seems to be the theme of this podcast today is, overcoming things mentally. And I think that's kind of what started it. That was the first time that I've really ever, put my mind to overcoming something that, when someone says I can't do it, or it's not going to happen for you, or you're going to live a really difficult life, I mean, sure, some things are unscalable, but this particular moment, I really felt like I had to.
Where did that come from? That feeling that you had to?
I don't know. I never thought I had it before. And it was just this thing that that wasn't going to be me. I think, I don't know. It just kind of happened. I think it just kind of, it was kind of a light in a dark room that's never been turned on before.
Yeah.
And when that switch was flipped, that light's been on ever since. So
it's incredible, man. That's one of the things I admire about you, and I didn't know why until you sent me the bio, and I'm like looking at your background and stuff. I'm like, oh, that makes it makes sense now. Like, why do I, appreciate Dean and who he is as a person like that? It's kind of putting it together. Again, you hang out and you go do stuff together, but you don't get depth, this uninterrupted time to just like focus on talking, right?
Yeah.
But what is it that, because you had mentioned some kids making fun of you and stuff. Is this high school or is this junior high?
Grade school, high school. Okay. Kids are cruel. Bullies are everywhere.
You're this lean, fit guy. So what are you talking about overweight? Like,
God, I wasn't. Yeah, not for a long time.
Really?
Was that? Yeah, those AP class, geeky kid, no athletic ability at all.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I can't picture that.
I know a lot of people, when I tell the story, a lot of people can't. It's kind of funny, but I was not, go to Taco Bueno after school and eat, fattening shit, and I just didn't really, working out or being active was not really a part of what I was doing. And it wasn't until a buddy of mine that I met. His name is Matt Gephardt, and we were, it was my senior year in school, and we were both in AP Spanish together, and I would just crack jokes throughout the class. And this guy was huge. He was the captain of the lacrosse team, just total badass, right? And finally I was just like, dude, we got to hang out, man. You're fucking hilarious. So I'm laughing throughout this, my favorite class of the day, And so we just became like best friends. And he kind of introduced me to working out at the gym and getting physically fit. And I owe it to him to I owe it to my dad for saving my leg, and I owe it to him for pushing me to want to be physically better and more healthy. And so, you have these people that come into your lives and, strange periods, and they change you for the better. So
it's really interesting. Yeah. Like, why is it that other people who could have gone through, it's a traumatic experience to almost lose your leg.
Yeah.
And other people could have gone through that and just decided, oh man, this sucks and everything. And okay, I'll go to the physical therapy, but I'm just going to kind of do whatever they tell me, and that's fine, and I'm just going to kind of mentally shut down about the whole thing because it sucks, life sucks and everything, and that could have been your reality.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
That's the thing that I love to hone in on, and no one ever has the answer for it. It's like, what is it? There was something within you that decided that's not going to be me. You made a decision even before anything had been done. You made a decision that you were committed to seeing the outcome different than what you were being told.
Yep.
And that to me is that's just a really cool thing. It's really intriguing to me, and it's not. I think about it in a military application. We're talking about mountaineering. You almost losing your leg due to some crazy rare virus.
Yeah.
Where the hell did that come from? It's like in any aspect of life, what is it that causes a person to say, "I'm not going to let this thing eat my lunch. I'm gonna fight it."
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And I think you hear these amazing stories of people overcoming, rare cancers and, things like that. It's like I think your mind is more powerful than you give it credit for. Yeah. Not you in particular. I'm just saying in general.
Not mine.
Because I think that
my mind is shit, right?
No, not at all. No, hardly.
Not playing.
Yeah, no. I think that people, your mind can do things. I know that cancer patients have yelled at their bodies before. I've heard stories of them going yelling the cancer out. In a way, it's very interesting to hear some of these stories of people overcoming some what should have been their deathbed and overcoming some stuff like that. We call them miracles. I think it's just, I mean, obviously everyone should believe in what they want, but I really truly believe that, having that mentality of wanting to overcome is doable in all of us.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think that's the most important thing, is to try to tap into that and to do something that requires you to do that. I just happened to have this just happened to me. I didn't seek it out, but it just happened. And so that was kind of the start of it. I think that finding something that really pushes yourself mentally and physically is something that is kind of unmatched.
Absolutely. I've thought about this for decades at this point, looking at how old I am, but I'm thinking about in my early 20s, just thinking about this, wanting to find this combination of my mind, my body, and my psyche, my spirit, whatever word you want to use for that. But like there's, I remember the Marine Corps, there was something for I think it was for the martial arts program, and the little symbol, in the military, there's patches for everything, or symbols for every kind of unit or program or whatever. So for the martial arts program, I think it had something for mind, representing mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah.
But in a military way, because obviously it can't be yoga or it can't do any of that, stuff. That's gay. We don't like that. It's got to be something guy shit. But it represented something, right?
Yeah,
and there was a symbol for each one. And I just remember thinking, I'm like, man, that is what the ultimate thing is. The ultimate person. How do I find my maximum amount of accomplishment? It's by stretching myself in all three of those areas.
Yeah.
Because you have super mega nerds that are science people, chemists at the top of their field, rocket scientists and all that stuff, right? And if you look at you ever do a role-playing game where you build your character?
Yeah.
And you're going to build who has what strengths, this much charisma, this much speed.
I mean,
and strength.
I am Hans.
Yeah, exactly, right? I want to see Hans's profile, like where his
I
strengths
don't.
are. Yeah. But you're building your character out, right? And it's like, what is the best, most accomplished person? It's like someone, in my mind, I've always been taught, it's like someone that has the most well-rounded of a bunch of stuff. And if you have one person that's way out, sharp skill set in one area, but they don't have the others, then that's great. They're going to be awesome at this one thing. And we need those people, right? We need the rocket scientists.
Absolutely.
Where that's all they think about is building rockets and working on the chemistry and the math and all that stuff, the orbits of the planets, and we need those people. But then like a person, I think of like yourself, where it's like, you're in finance, you're doing just very cerebral stuff for work, but then you go through this experience as a teenager where you almost lose your leg, and you're facing this kind of adversity where something challenges you physically, whether you liked it or not. You didn't ask for it, but you're going through this physical thing where you have to go through this therapy. Your cartilage is all cut out of your leg, which I want to ask you about that in a second. But now it's forcing you to cope emotionally with the outcome of that. That forms in my mind, because you're being tested in a lot of areas, it forms in my mind someone that's more resilient, more willing to climb to the summit of that mountain where the other people didn't want to, and you're willing to go that extra couple 100 feet through pretty shitty conditions to be able to get to the top, because I already know what it's like to almost lose it all anyway.
Yeah.
So, and maybe I'm speaking for you here, I don't know, but when I think about all of that, it just makes me think of like, who are we as people, and what is it that, how resilient are we, and what are we willing to cope with, and who are we as people at the end of the day?
That's right. You bring up a lot of valid points, and I think that we are very fragile physically. I mean, we need to have perfect conditions in order to live. Let's be honest, right? Yeah. This earth is incredible. Because
the ground is hard.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like, trust me.
It's made of rocks, bitch.
I mean, we complain about mattresses. I mean, so it's true. But I think that we're also only as good as the people that we surround ourselves with and try to work with as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the most important things is to realize that we're all in this together. So, I forget what the African proverb is. Something about, something about being one person, and then maybe you can look it up. But it basically comes down to being able to work together. You can accomplish a lot more. So, you could probably look it up. Go alone or go together. Yeah, that's right. That's what it is.
John already knew this. That's great.
Yeah, it's a famous.
If you want to go quickly, go alone.
Yeah.
If you want to go far,
go together.
Yeah. Wow.
So, and thanks for looking that up. My mind just totally blanked on it. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things to say. And I think that's super important, especially when it comes to like family and things like that. We always find a way to, lash out at the person that's closest to us because that's where they are. That's who, they're within close proximity. And we're all at fault for that. I do.
Yeah. It's a soft target.
Exactly. And that they'll listen and they'll take it because they love you, or at least it's someone to argue with, And I think that, at the end of the day, it's, sure, you might have those, and all of us do. I think it's the most important part is to how you recover from that, because those are the people where you will go the farthest with.
Yeah.
And remembering that and how important those people are is so critical, because, we talked about having strength of mind. It's not that way all the time.
No,
and
it's not.
It can break and you can be weak, and having someone there that can help you, friends, family, loved ones, wife, husband, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, is going to be there to help pick up the pieces. It's super, super important so that you can get back on that track.
I'm really glad you mentioned that. It's so critical to have good people around you. Because I think about okay, you can be a really competent dude in whatever you're doing, but if you don't have anyone helping you out, backing you up, supporting you, encouraging you, I think you're still set up for failure.
Yep.
You've got to have good people in your corner, and not even your corner, because that's almost self-centered. But it's you got to have I'm thinking of a boxing ring, right, in your corner, right, because you're going up to the fight. But I think it's more so we're all in the ring together, and we're going up against this insurmountable challenge, like a mountain, or facing foreclosure on the house, or facing trouble at work, or whatever the challenge is, right? It's people struggle, people go through some things that they've never faced before, and it's so much easier to go through it together.
That's right. Well, for all the ladies listening, one of my other favorite quotes is, I think, FDR's wife, who said, "Behind every great man is a better woman."
A better woman? I love that.
It's kind of true. I mean, they can help out in a lot of times. So
that's absolutely true, man. And I wrote this down a number of years ago. Similar vein of thinking, but a good woman will remind you of your future. A bad woman will remind you of your past.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No kidding. They kind of do both.
Well, yeah.
I remember when I make mistakes, I'm quickly reminded of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
but but no, I'm all jokes aside, you're exactly right.
In general. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just saying, I just remember, and I won't mention when I was married, but I will mention a relationship I had after my divorce. It was my first real relationship. You did some dating and stuff like that, right? But it's the first real relationship I had. And I remember this girl just hammering me about stuff I had done in my past. And it's what is this? What am I at, a roast? What are we here to pick on each? I don't understand what this is. This is not what I'm looking for. And so, I shut that down, but it was, it just made me curious, who is she as a person? I don't understand what this is. I'm trying to lean on you for support. We're supposed to be paired together as a couple. We're supposed to be working together through life, and all of a sudden, this. And so, it took me too long to realize that, though, because, I just got divorced, so I'm feeling just guilty about everything.
Sure.
And so it took me longer to remember who I was,
right?
And just remember like you said a few minutes ago, who you have with you, I think it greatly impacts your ability to succeed.
I think that you've described what the essence of what judgment is. I mean, you go into any courtroom, they're judging you on your past, what you just did, your past actions to determine your future. And I think that it is kind of an unhealthy way. I mean, yes, you want to learn from your mistakes and you want to learn from all that stuff, but judging someone else is tough to do because sometimes we don't really understand where someone is coming from or where they've been. I mean, this is rare that you get a chance to really talk, and I want to flip the script on you one of these days and interview you. But right. But I think that that's the most important part. It's really truly understanding someone. Then it's being able to bring up things and helping them become a better person. Judging someone right away, you have no idea who that person is. Yeah. You have no idea what they've gone through. You don't know what's in their mind at that time or where their mind was at that time. And so to pass judgment it's easy to do, and we do it all the time. I do it. Heck, we
all do. Yeah,
sure. So I'm not. It's one of those things that I'm constantly having to work with. And work on. Patience is another thing. All those things, but. Yeah, it's tough.
I think one of the other things, and I don't mean to keep coming back to like the mountain climbing or anything, but
sure,
but I do.
Sure.
But like thinking about like intense situations. Adam, my last guest, he was with me. Adam from the camp and shoot, but he was with me in Ukraine. So thinking about like being in a stressful combat environment, or you're on the side of a mountain and it's just you and a couple dudes trying to figure it out and make sure you don't die. Like these situations are pressure cookers for who a person really is. And it makes you understand, okay, I can actually count on this person when it really comes down to it.
Yep.
And that pressure cooker, man, is so vital because I think we're both older. We're in our 40s. And so it's like when you're in high school, the stakes are low. And so you have this long length of time to figure out who's going to be your friend and who's not. And that's kind of a friend I hang out with, but I can't really count on them. Or this person picks on me, so I think they're being mean. Well, actually, they're actually trying to tease me, and we're really friends. And it's just trying to figure it out. So it takes a long time to figure out who's actually really close and who's not.
Right.
And that's always changing.
Right.
That takes time. And then now at our age, I feel that it's different. And it's like when I meet a person and I'm going to become friends with them, I need to figure out really fast. I don't have time. Same thing with dating too, because I'm single. And so I'm like, if I'm going to date somebody or become a friend with somebody, I need to figure out really fast if this is a real one or not.
Yeah, I agree. The older you get, the more valuable those relationships are, because we just don't. Yeah. It's not that we don't have the time for it. I think that's kind of a cop-out excuse. I think it's more that we feel, I don't know, like, without sounding dramatic, like the finality of life. I mean, the older you get, the closer you are to that. And I think that's that part of life that you want to share with people, those, that other half of that coin, and you want to share it with the right people. You always had time to, in the earlier years to fix that. Like, okay, well, that didn't work out. I'll move on and I'll find someone else. But now it's like, you don't have that kind of time. That, the runway is getting shorter. So, you definitely want to find those right relationships. I completely agree with you on that. And I think that, the majority of people, I probably think like that too. I mean, it's just, you can't go through and cycle in people in your life anymore.
Yeah.
So
out of you did you mentioned that you were you did Catholic stuff. Mm-hmm. It's a weird way to introduce it, but
it's a really weird
so
segue.
Sorry, everyone.
I did Catholic stuff. Oh, Jesus.
I'm
great.
So sorry.
That's embarrassing.
The worst segue I've ever done.
I don't even know what Catholic stuff is.
Jesus.
This is an embarrassing moment.
Oh, my gosh. I'm sorry.
It's
I'm so sorry to you and everyone.
It's okay.
But just... I had a segue. It sounded good in my head because of all the relationship building, what is important to you and what is not. You were raised as Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't seem to be what you're practicing now, just by
No.
my observation. So, like, what in your realization, in your relationships, in your experiences in life has formed your philosophy, like who you are, what you're up to, why you do what you do?
Yeah. Yeah, you're exactly right. So, I mean, I think that religion was a big part of growing up. And we were raised Catholic. My mom actually converted from, I think, Presbyterian to Catholic after she married my dad. And so it was our thing. I mean, that was, we associated, how we believe in our philosophy and associated that with a God. And, faith is important for everyone, I think, in their own way. I think that the wiser I got, and then also experiencing, a lot of, after my dad passed away and things like that, it just kind of made me realize that, what is important and what are the things that are the best. In Christianity, there's these things called the Beatitudes, where it's, love one another, like, and those kind of things. And it all derives from this movement called Stoicism in the Roman Empire. So a big proponent of that was Aurelius Augustus. Emperor Augustus was a general, and he wrote the Meditations, which is kind of like his philosophy when he was a general on the battlefield during that time. And then he promoted this movement called Stoicism when he was the emperor. And when the Christians I believe this is after the crucifixion of Jesus. And so the Christians were still kind of hiding in caves, but they were brilliant people. And so the Stoics would have these tents in the bazaar, and they would, it wasn't preaching. It was basically like going around and sharing how their philosophy of being one with nature, being there for each other, like, how can I help you, kind of thing. There was no God associated with Stoicism. But the Christians would rent out the tent next to it or listen to what was going on, and then they eventually associated God to it. And so that's really the foundation of Christianity, is based really on Stoicism, what happened in the Roman Empire. And so, because if you study Stoicism, it's really all the foundation of Christianity is all those lessons of Stoicism. And then they just slapped God on it. And because of the time, why Stoicism became so popular was because they were like gods for everything. I mean, you stub your toe, there was a god for it. I don't know, in Roman history. And so eventually it just became tiresome. And so I think that they went from one extreme to the other, and Christians kind of filled this gap of like, okay, there is a God. You've been brought up with all these gods, but now there's one God, but then applied the Stoicism that was super, super popular at the time. And so that's how Christianity was built. And I think that, that's, for me, I don't know if I necessarily need to have faith in God. It's really the philosophy of being aware of nature, of people around me, how to help people, how to be unselfish, being strong in times of distress, looking inwardly on yourself. These are all components of Stoicism, really. And it's not that I practice that. It's not really, it's just a mentality. It's just how I want to live my life. And I've become a lot happier because I don't feel like I'm sinning all the time. So, being brought up Catholic, it was like I was constantly fucking up and I was constantly sinning. I felt really bad about myself. I had this mentality of like, I am a terrible man. I'm a terrible person.
Yeah.
And because this God, I might not get into heaven, or this God hates me now or something. I'm constantly sinning, and I have to go into church and sit with a priest and be like, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been, 2 days since my last confession.
Right.
It's like, why do I put that pressure on myself when I don't need to, when all the rules are written there, but I don't have to fear a God? No, I don't have to fear like sinning. you do this because thou shalt not kill. Well, yeah, I don't want to kill because I also don't want to spend the rest of my life in prison either. So it's like, and plus it just kind of goes against your innateness of not wanting to kill, right?
Sure.
I mean,
I don't want to be killed,
right?
So obviously I don't want to kill you because it sucks to get killed,
right? Or just commit adultery or anything. It just kind of goes without saying, right? The 10 Commandments. It's kind of like, all right, it's already written. I mean, so I think that's kind of where how I've kind of changed and lived my life, and I've never been happier because now I feel freer, but I still have that kind of
code.
That code of ethics. That's right. That's exactly a good way to put it.
Yeah. That's really cool. I grew up through high school being like super Christian, really into it. And I remember I like the way you talk about the sinning, like the feeling of the guilt and everything, because it's pretty emotionally exhausting.
It is, very much so.
It's taxing on you because you're constantly under this anxiety of, oh, I did good, I did bad, I did good, I did bad. And it's like, dude, can I just exist?
Right.
And get on to my life to doing other things? Because I don't want to be trapped in this back and forth ping pong thing where I'm constantly, because then I don't feel like I'm ever really growing. I feel like I'm just constantly trapped in this cyclical pattern of feeling like shit and then feeling good. And I don't like that roller coaster. And I feel, I haven't studied a lot of Stoicism, but when I hear about it, hear like you're describing it, it just sounds like just be nice and balanced and emotionally healthy, physically healthy, mentally healthy. It just sounds like a nice, even keel thing.
Yeah.
And that to me is how life is.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever really fully extreme.
No.
And if it is, usually something's out of balance.
Right. I mean, yeah, I just, it's not to say that, I've written off God or something like that or denounced him, but, it's just, I think that, there's just so much that I've learned about religion, which is, I think, the greatest con of man. If I'm going to go out there and say it, because I might as well. I think that that religion has been the cause of so many wars and so much distress and death, more than it has anything else in history of man. Sure, there's warfare over land and things like that, but a lot of atrocities have been committed in the name of God.
Yeah. I had a dude talk to me today. We're just talking about each other's lives and stuff, and the whole reason I have this podcast is partially because I like to just talk to people, like, who are you, what are you up to, what's your deal, and just get into conversations. I think people are interesting, and so I'm talking to this guy, and he's telling me how he recently got super into his faith and all that, and cool, okay, like what got you into that? And I know where this is heading. I have a background. I was a church person and missionary, and I used to preach, and I know the code words, that I know where we're going in this conversation. But okay, this is what he's interested in, so I'm giving him a chance to talk about his thing. But in the conversation, it's this thing of like, well, when you die, you're going to go to, a good place or a bad place, and it's up to you. And it's this whole thing of like, I'm interested in you. Why is this important to you? And instead it becomes this thing where he's pushing this thing on me that if I don't do his thing, then now I have this crossroads thing. And that's, so even if we take out of the context of history where, 1,000 years ago, a bunch of people killed each other, I don't give a fuck anyway. Like, who cares? I don't know them. They didn't know me. None of that impacts me, right? But if it comes down to like where you and me are talking, and you start just telling me that I got to do your stuff, and if I don't, after I die, it's going to be real bad for me, I'm like, what are we doing, man? I mean, let's just hang out and have a good time. Why does it have to be...
It's divisive.
Yeah, it's just this weird vibe, man. And if I think about it, because I do know the Bible from my background, my history, that's not even the Bible anyway. It's not. It's not putting this shit on people that you better choose my thing or it's going to be a bad deal, and that's what that conversation is.
Right.
It's this weird pressure that people feel like they got to put on you, and if they don't put it on you, then they feel like they haven't done their job of like being their, emissary of the whole cause or something. And it's like, just tell me about your stuff, man. Why is it important to you?
Mm-hmm.
And if in that window that I give you to tell me about your stuff, you threaten me, I'm not gonna do it. I don't want to. I'm not interested in that.
That's right.
That's not a good way to be.
That's right.
It doesn't interest me at all.
Yeah, I think that the real there's a line that runs through pretty much every religion if you study it, and that line is the same message through all of it, and it's very simple words: love one another.
Yeah.
3 simple words, and that's the message that every religion tries to explain, and they explain it through parable or anything of that nature, but it really boils down to those 3 words. And if we start to think about those words every day, we're going to start treating each other a lot better.
Yeah.
And we're going to start listening to people a lot more. And I think that's what it really comes down to. People just want to be heard at the end of the day. And I think that listening, especially in this day and age of all the busy stuff that's going on, we've lost that art of just simply listening. Like, this is an awesome experience because it's literally just the 2 friends sitting in a room listening to each other.
Yeah.
It sounds really creepy for everyone listening, but it's true. I mean, I think that it's something that's really, it's a lost art. It's something that I think that we should try to do more often. And I don't listen enough. I probably should. And so, but I think that is something that we need to really do, and it's going to solve a lot of problems. And even if you don't agree to that, just having someone talk really kind of helps them, and it dispels anger, misunderstandings, things of that nature. So.
Yeah, I think it helps you process too, like your place, like who are you, what do you feel about yourself. It helps you recognize where you're at. Mm-hmm. And I think we're not honest with ourselves, and we're not honest with each other. So if there's someone in the group, first of all, you got to get the group, right? You got to have the people that are going to be in it with you through thick and thin. And you got to have the group. And if the group is comprised of people that aren't going to be honest with you, then it's doing you a disservice, and it's doing them a disservice.
Right.
So, hey, man, like, you're slacking. You're not, whatever the thing is, right? It's just like someone's got to be able to come to you and tell you what's up.
Right.
Or encourage you.
Right.
And tell you, you're doing great. Keep it up, man. This is great. Whatever the thing is. And because it keeps you honest. Because if you start thinking, man, I'm the shit, I'm doing a great job, and then no one tells you that you're not the shit because you've been screwing whatever, like, that's a dangerous road to go down.
Absolutely,
and
it
that's
is.
where sociopaths, develop and all that stuff, because no one's checking them.
That's right.
And
I think the social media has also really affected the way that we perceive each other and ourselves. And I think that deep down, it's kind of like goes back to what we were saying. Like, you go to see someone at a bar and say, "How you doing?" "Oh, I'm doing well." That's basically the conversation on like, say, Instagram. You're only showing like, I'm doing well, right?
Right.
When in actuality, that's not necessarily true. And it's just, and no one wants to, like, it's the same thing that you were saying. Like, I don't want to, like, this dude doesn't want to hear me at this bar talk about how shitty my week has been. It's the same way on, like, social media. Like, no one wants to be reading, negativity about how, crappy your week was or what you just went through.
Right.
And so it's all rainbows and unicorns. And I think that puts a lot of undue pressure on ourselves to constantly get more, be more, stuff like that, without being truly happy with who we are. In ourselves, and finding that kind of inner peace. And I think that's, again, it starts with, like, sure, loving one another, but loving yourself too. Mm-hmm. And I think that's super important. You can't help anyone else until you help yourself.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
True.
Yeah. Can you help yourself if you don't have anyone around you to help you even see what the next level could be?
Yeah.
It's tough, man. How do you help yourself when you're 17 and they're going to tell you that you're going to lose your leg and you decide no?
Right.
It's like, where did that come from?
Right.
How can you help yourself? How did you even know to do that? It's like, that's the intangible element that I really want to figure out. I want to try to hone in on that. And I know it's for millennia, people have been trying to do this, but it's like, I want to get a little closer to that if I can discover that. How do you do that, man? It's like
it's that famous nature versus nurture kind of thing, right? that people have tried to figure out for a long time. I think that I think it's an individual thing. I think that it doesn't really necessarily matter where you come from, or what you have, or your station in life. I think that everyone has the ability to succeed, and I truly, truly believe that. And some people just need more help than others, and it's kind of, I feel like it's up to some people to try to do that and love one another a little bit more. So that's really difficult, and that's a conversation maybe for an entirely different podcast, but because that can be a rabbit hole for sure, and it's hard to explain. I mean, and everyone's trying to figure that out too, like, especially when it comes to politics or socioeconomic conditions for people. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, we've always tried to do that. We've always tried to solve problems, and a lot of them are unsolvable. But being able to work with one another, and I think just keeping it, instead of getting bogged down with everything that's happening and becoming overwhelmed, just looking to your left and to your right and focusing on that is probably the best thing that you can do in your life.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I've always loved the outlook you have on life. It's always been fun.
Thanks, man. Likewise.
One of the things I know I've not harped on it, but I've reminded you of this often, and for those listening for the first time, but I always see you as a like a gatherer, and you do a good job of like bringing the people together from the different backgrounds and the different life experiences, and I see that as like one of your ministries of love to just the people around you is there are people that will keep their circles individualized. Well, these are my friends that I see at my softball team, or these are my friends that I see at work, and that's it. And they'll never introduce them. It's like I've always seen you as like you bring them all together, and it enriches everybody that is coming together.
Thanks.
And you create this more enriched environment because there's a blending of all these different people. It makes it more fun and interesting.
Yeah, I think so. I just, for me, it's always been fascinating to learn about people and cultures and things of that nature. And, we all have a story to tell. And so we're all different in our own ways. None of us are the same. And so I love being able to, of course I know when to not blend certain people together, but I think that for the most part, I like to surround myself with really interesting, intelligent people that have a lot to contribute. And I know that there's something that, people will find in common or find something to talk about. And, I guess I just do it naturally. I really don't do that with any purpose. It just kind of happens.
It's natural, yeah, for sure. I know. Yeah. You're not putting in effort. It's just like a natural.
I'm having a good time when everyone else have a good time. Right. Let's all have a good time together. It's great. Yeah.
That would be, one of you talk about people not to introduce together. Like, what if you threw a party and invited only all your ex-girlfriends?
Yeah, that would be miserable. That would be a terrible, terrible, terrible experience. Mainly because I don't necessarily want to see any of them. No. I don't know about that. That'd be a terrible social experiment.
I would, yeah. I want hidden cameras all in the thing.
Oh man. All they do is probably just talk shit on me the entire time anyway. And they probably all become best friends, honestly. Yeah. One commonality amongst all of them.
Yeah.
How shitty Dean is. I'm kidding. Okay. But yeah, it's I think that we're just one big melting pot anyway in this world, and the world has become flat. I mean, we're all connected more and more as every day passes. The parabolic curve of technology is taking us to places where we can interact with people in some of the most remote places of the world. And, we've all come together as one people. And I think that that's even more important. And we have more of a responsibility now than ever in order to interact with one another and to be open and loving to one another, because I think it's vitally important. There's no real way to escape anymore. You can't go to that remote place in the world physically and escape because we're all really connected now.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important kind of aspect to keep in mind.
Yeah, one of our brothers over in Ukraine was talking. We have a group chat, and he sent us a message today just to say what's up and send us a couple pictures, and this is him. And I'm like, this dude is on the front lines in Ukraine.
It's crazy.
In the shit. And we're like, hey, man, keep it up. You're doing great. You know, we love you, man. And it's just like he's getting this, like, encouragement from people on the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
He knows us. It's not strangers, but like he's getting this encouragement from dudes on the other side of the planet. And I thought about it from his point of view, like how crazy that must be.
Yeah.
Because I know what it's like pre-cell phones, pre-internet to be deployed, and it fucking sucks, man. Like,
think about the people in the World War II.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they'd wait months for a letter from home.
Right.
If that letter even found them on the front lines.
Right, yeah. What if the mail truck blew up or something like that? Like,
right.
There is a guaranteed thing. I mean, they have Starlink out there. I mean, there were times in Ukraine when we had no food and water, but we had internet.
That's crazy. That's amazing to me. I mean, again, it places the point. Yeah, we're so connected with one another. Yeah. I couldn't imagine what it was like back then when, you know, families at home about, you know, not having that connection and not knowing if they're alive or dead for months.
Oh, think of World War I, like trench warfare.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And these guys are in these trenches for months. They have no idea what is on the out a mile away from this trench, and they live in this trench.
100 feet.
Yeah.
They just knew the enemy was literally 100 feet, you know, in front of them.
Yeah.
That's crazy. A football field. That's nuts.
Yeah, for that to be your reality. I mean, I can't even fathom never traveling. I can't fathom never getting on an airplane, never going to another place. That to me sounds like a prison sentence.
No kidding.
But to sit in a trench for, you know, however many months and never be able to like leave out of that thing, that seems to me to be like
the next time you think that
horrible.
You know, the COVID rules of having to stay at home and was right. Bad. Remember those guys?
Oh
they had it much worse. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, no kidding.
Could have trench feet for months on end. Yeah. Instead, you've got a nice place to at least live in. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be tough, man. John, pull up the Chat GPT thing. I've been looking for a good excuse to use this thing. Have you been on this?
This is really fascinating. I actually was talking with some financial professionals last night at a dinner about AI and Chat GPT and how it will transform everything that we're doing.
I do want to hear about that. Let's pull up something about how far did dudes in World War I go away from their trench or something like that. You can say dudes. He was going to type something else. Uh-oh. Regenerate. Something went wrong. Chat GPT. Refresh the... Yeah, there you go.
Or how long did they stay in the trench?
Are you... I don't know. Are you hitting enter?
I have heard that is it one of those times where it's like there's only so much bandwidth of these things? Yeah, surge maybe.
Well, it looks like it's hitting enter before he finished. There it goes. Now it's asking, how can I assist you today? How far did the men go in World War I? Away from their trenches, though. That's what I'm... Here, stop generating that. I want to know, how far did they leave their trenches?
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean...
See, look at the context. I love this. It knows we're already talking about it. World War I. Men did leave the trenches during World War I to engage in various offensive actions such as raids, patrol, blah, blah, blah. How far, though? Just say that.
Oh, there we go.
Varied widely depending on a few
yards.
Soldiers would only venture a few yards outside of their trenches to engage in short-range skirmishes with enemy troops. Yeah, they're not being specific.
That's crazy, though.
A few yards, though. That's... How long would they stay in the trench? Does it say that? Let's ask it that.
I love this thing. It's amazing.
Do you hear his typing?
Yeah.
You have like a little cadence when he types.
He does have a little... Yeah.
All right. Spent long periods of time in the trenches, often for days or even weeks at a time without relief. The length of time... That soldier
Spend
buried.
months at a time in the trenches without a break.
Does it say that?
Man, yeah.
Where does it?
Not uncommon for soldiers to spend months at a time in the trenches without a break.
Jesus.
That's nuts.
That's honestly what's going on in Ukraine right now too.
Yeah.
I'm talking to dudes that are saying it's like a Stalingrad situation, especially over by Bakhmut, where they're just not getting cycled out, and guys are getting fried and stuff.
Wow.
Brain fried.
Yeah, I bet.
So they are cycling guys out, but there's trench units that are just like, that's what they live. They live in the trench, man.
Right.
You see, and you guys can go on, anyone listening, you can go on YouTube and see like they're
crazy.
building little houses down in there, like
Really?
their beds, and they have a little shelf for books and
like the trenches in World War One. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There was that. Have you seen the new movie that just came out? I think it won an Oscar. All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah.
It's very good.
That was good, man.
Yeah.
I like that. Was
really,
Netflix,
really,
right?
Yeah, I believe it was something
was
like
good.
that. It was a very, very good film.
Yeah. That was better than I thought it would
brutal.
be.
Yeah.
It was really good.
That was brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a war period that is you really enjoy to get into? Is there like because didn't you say you did Hungarian stuff?
Yeah. I think that World War II. I've always been kind of a World War II buff, mainly because I had family that fought in World War II. So, my grandmother was certainly one of those people that I admired tremendously. She was a frontline nurse in World War II, and
oh, sweet.
She served in Africa and in Europe, both theaters. She was a firecracker. She was, 5'1" on a good day, probably. But she had the personality of someone twice her size, and she would volunteer for to go in and help. So like Anzio was probably one of the bloodiest battles in World War II, and it was strictly volunteer, and because of how awful it was, and really we had to go through Anzio, and it was kind of a beachhead. So Anzio was down on the beach, and right above the beach was this cliff where the Nazis were basically embedded, and just it was like shooting fish in a barrel. And they just lobbed down bombs and grenades and all sorts of stuff, just blowing the shit out of everyone. And my grandmother survived that and went through it. Her stories are absolutely incredible. She would go in, I think it was the Signal Corps that would go in. They'd lay wire, so they'd wear like plain clothes and go lay wire for in towns that were going to be raided by Army Rangers like the next day or something like that. But they had to have a nurse that would go with them in case they were injured or something like that. And so my grandmother would volunteer to go in with them. And I believe she was one of the first Allied nurses in Rome, in the liberation of Rome, because she went there with the Signal Corps to lay down these wires where the Rangers would connect that wire to their backpack, their communications, and which would, the signal would be sent down to HQ or something like that. And so, yeah, she was one of the first people to go in and do that. It was amazing.
So is it an occupied town?
Mm-hmm. Nazis were there at the time.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And so she would have to go in and just kind of like act like nothing was happening. And they'd drop the wire through their pant leg. And so, and they'd snip it and get it and leave. But if they were killed or captured, it happened all the time. And so, but if they were injured or something like that, that's why they had to have a nurse go with them. And so she would volunteer for this stuff. It was crazy. She has stories of like going in and eventually when Rome was liberated, the Nazis like literally left food on their plates, like literally just got up and left town. And there were dining halls with, this cutlery and all sorts of stuff. She stole all that stuff and brought it home. I've got it at home.
Do you really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is she still alive?
No, she died. She was 104.
God.
Something like that. I think that's the right number.
What a beast, man.
She was awesome. Yeah.
Dude.
She had I think she had full honors when she passed away. It was interesting because it was beautiful. It was in Indiana, so the National Guard was out there, and I think Fulbert Colonel was there, and he was the one who handed me the flag after she passed away, which is a really poignant moment because my dad and my uncle had both passed. So I was really the only male left in the family.
Wow.
I'm the only male left on both sides of the family, actually. And so, yeah, I was the one to receive the flag because I was the oldest and next in line. So, but she was cool. My grandparents met. It's actually a really cool story. So my grandmother was or my grandfather was a paratrooper. And so when he dropped into the African theater, he hurt his back and wasn't really able to serve as a paratrooper anymore, but he wanted to still be in the war and serve as best he could. So he got posted to the post office. And when he was in, I forget where they were, if it was in like Morocco, like Marrakesh or something like that, my grandmother came in riding on this tank and all these guys are hooting and hollering. And my grandfather just looks at his buddy and is like, I'm going to marry that girl. And the buddy was like, yeah, you and every other guy here. Because my grandmother was good looking. She was a good looking woman. Yeah. And so my grandfather made sure that in the post office was to her larger battalion or regiment. And so it would follow her throughout Europe. And they dated throughout that entire time. So he literally would follow her. And they got married outside of they wandered in, it was in France. It was after D-Day, and they wanted to get married. And so they went to this small French town, and the church was burned out, but they went in looking for the priest and the pastor. And they kind of left discouraged, but then they found him later on, and they got married outside this little town. And I've got the pictures for it because she took pictures of everything, by the way.
Oh, nice.
It was incredible. And them on this, hillside overlooking this bombed out village in France. And that's kind of where that was the end of it. But then the thing about this, then they couldn't really communicate that with their family. So they had to take ships that would take, a month to get across the Atlantic. So he had to go back, I don't know where he was living at the time. She was in Ohio. I think he was in Indiana. And so he had to, once he got home, this is months in between. And so he finally had to come and ask for my great-grandfather's permission, to marry her. But, they didn't want to say that they were already kind of married. But,
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, months in between. So that, he went home and on one ship and she went home on another ship. And yeah. Which is crazy, but it's a really neat love story.
That's great.
I eventually want to write a book on it because I think it's a beautiful, beautiful story.
It is.
And there's some pictures in there. One of them is when she liberated a concentration camp in Germany, and at the time they didn't know what it was. She's a frontline nurse. She's some of the first soldiers to see any of this stuff. And they thought it was, a disease camp. Like, these people wearing these striped pajamas, and they thought it was to mark them for a disease, so they couldn't approach them. And, she has pictures of these concentration camp, prisoners standing on top of dead bodies, trying to get over the gates to try to talk to them. I mean, it's graphic. And, but we had no idea. And again, communication was, moved like molasses back then because we just didn't have what we have now. Yeah. So when we ran up against this stuff, we didn't really know what they were at first. It wasn't really until later that we understood what the Nazis were doing. They kept it very well hidden. And so, of course, there were rumblings about
those pictures.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
They're really, really cool.
What was your grandma's name?
Marion Malik.
Marion Malik.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, she was a badass, man.
She was a total badass.
I mean, to go into an occupied town.
Yeah, dude.
And prep for an invasion, like that's some sneaky
shit. Yeah.
Special operations.
She was
stuff,
awesome, man. She was
badass.
She was really cool. I admired her. It took me years of trying to get these stories out of her. I mean, it was really tough for her.
Sure.
Understandably.
Of course.
I mean, she lost some of her best friends, and just in Anzio alone. And, that's, but eventually she did. I recorded it all on those little cassette tapes, which I need to probably digitize. But
dude, I got it.
Yeah,
I would love to hear it.
I have like 4 of these tapes. They're so cool, dude.
That's
she
the
was
kind
awesome.
of stuff I love to listen to.
Oh, it's really cool. I'll show you the next time you come over. We should do that. I'll bring out the photos and stuff like that. It's really cool. Or we could do it.
I'll help you
on the
digitize
podcast
that,
or something
man.
like that. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Dude,
we
people
could share it with
would
everyone.
eat that up, man. If you'd be willing to share the
Absolutely, it's really, really neat.
Yeah.
And we kind of go through like what was happening too at the time in World War II, and where the kind of movements. So kind of what I was studying was, how like Rommel and in the African theater, and then how they came up through Italy, and they were converging on Germany basically from the south, and the Russians were coming in from the east, and I mean it was just this massive convergence, and how they were strategizing all this was just fascinating to me. But also following my grandmother through these towns at the same time is always been kind of fun for me to kind of like not only educate myself historically on strategy and World War II, but also, how to follow my grandmother around at the same time, which was kind of neat. And then on the Pacific Fleet, my great uncle was Admiral Raymond Spruance, who was led the Pacific Fleet during the Battle of Midway, which is turned the tide. That's when we defeated the Japanese carriers.
Wow,
which is pretty cool.
Dude, that's so cool to have a family story for the European and the Pacific, like efforts.
It's really neat.
Wow.
But my grandmother's brother, he died when he was over there in the Pacific and stuff like that. So it's a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. I mean, it's just a really amazing period of time. It was really incredible. Someday I'll kind of put it all together and kind of tell the story. So we've kind of neat.
That'd be awesome, man. Yeah, because those are the sort of. Oh, this is him, Raymond. Spruance.
Yeah, that's Raymond Spruance. Yep.
Former United States ambassador to the Philippines.
Yeah, he is extremely famous naval officer. His book is still read at the Naval Academy.
Yeah, John,
it's part of the curriculum.
You know the name of that? John, can you see if we can find his book? Just Raymond Spruance's book. Quiet Warrior.
Yep, that's
a biography of Admiral Raymond Spruance.
It's a really good book. Yep. Do you recognize that photo? I've got it hanging in my house.
I've seen this before.
Yeah.
Where in your house is that?
I've got a couple of them, but they're hanging on by my kitchen.
I have seen it.
Yeah.
I know I've seen this picture, and I thought it just was something I had seen before, so I didn't recognize it was in your house. But The Quiet Warrior. Well, this seems to be highly rated, man. This is cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
He's his strategy in the Pacific is fascinating. I mean, it's still taught at the Naval Academy. It's pretty cool.
You know, it'd be badass is if there was any kind of like biography or movie or anything about him, and if you could play him. Yeah,
right. Well, there's one that just came out called Midway.
He's in it.
Yeah, Raymond Spruance is in it. Yeah,
sure. Okay.
Yeah. But it's very short. Actually, it's interesting because he deserved a lot more because he really was the one who turned the tide. They'd show him taking over the fleet because Halsey got sick. And so Admiral Halsey was the one who was leading the Pacific Fleet at the time. And when he got sick, Admiral Spruance was the one that kind of came up, and he was thrown into this. And the reason why he's called the Quiet Warrior is because he didn't talk. I mean, he was kind of this dude who was just really smart and just didn't talk. And when he did say something, it was meaningful. Like everyone listened to him. And so, the title of the book is very apropos to who he was as a leader.
I really do like coming across people like that because there's constantly kind of ironic because we're sitting here talking a lot, but
right.
That's the context of what we're in. But there was a guy in our unit in Ukraine that was like this silent, never talked dude. Part of it was because he didn't really speak English, so there's part of that limitation there. He knew a little bit, but this guy, man, you get him out in the fight and he's just murking people up.
Wow.
But he never talked.
That's interesting.
He just sat, observed. We'd have our little pre-op meeting or whatever. He'd sit and just watch the map, kind of observe watching everybody, and then get out there and just smash it up. Just like
Well,
the silent warrior, man, the quiet warrior.
My dad always told me is like always respect the most quiet person in the room, because they're the ones that are listening the most and probably have the most knowledge. And again, it goes back to listening. I think that the more you observe and the more you listen, the greater knowledge you have in that particular moment. Because everyone loves to talk, but they're ignoring everything else that's going on around them. So,
yeah, it's tough, because what if you're in a place where you're teaching, right? And so then, I have to open my mouth to explain this concept or teach this thing. But right, all things being equal, then you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting. I think that, I think that we do less observing, and so I've always kind of admired that person. There's a guy in finance, this guy Andy Redleaf. He was kind of started this fund which was nothing. Now it's a multi-billion-dollar fund. It's huge. But the dude was he was strange, but he was unbelievably brilliant. And I just remember that he would stare at your shoes the entire time that he was talking to you. But everything that he said that came out of his mouth was just absolute brilliance. And it's kind of those, we got to be open to some of that stuff, and those people. I think that they've got a lot to go. So it's been interesting. I've run into a lot of characters in my life, that's for sure.
What's his name? Andy Redleaf?
Redleaf. Yeah.
Andy Redleaf.
He's the founder of Whitebox.
And Whitebox is it's at the top there.
It's a huge hedge fund. Yeah, it's a huge hedge fund in Minnesota.
Oh, that can't be him.
Yeah, that's him.
Well, it said Whitebox, but that only said 17 people on the thing. Is that him there?
Yeah, that's him.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
what does Whitebox do?
They're a hedge fund, so they trade in all sorts of different markets around the world. And so they have all sorts of different strategies for trading. He's just been absolutely brilliant at what he did. There's a lot of brilliant people out there.
You said you worked with him?
No, we invested in his fund, but that was a long time ago. He's really brilliant. And so we met with him. I think that, I've always found that some of the strangest people are sometimes the most brilliant people. Like what you were saying about physicists and, rocket scientists, let them do that, because those people that are absolutely brilliant, because that's all they do. And if you want to talk to them about that, that's what they do. It's stellar. It's amazing.
Yeah.
There was this guy, I think that's fascinating, especially like theoretical physics. And I think I mentioned this to you too.
I love talking to someone like that.
Yeah.
I love watching the gears turn.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, what are they thinking?
It's crazy.
God, it's great.
Dark matter, string theory, parallel universes. It's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And the more we're studying is, it's becoming more true. I mean, all these theories that Albert Einstein had and some of the great theorists of, the 20th century. I mean, all that stuff was conjecture, and now we're proving it. It's really incredible.
Is there any of that that's now come back to the everyday people, where like some knowledge that we've discovered with these theoretical physics has now been proven, and now it's something that's applicable today within our lifetime? Is there something that you're aware of?
I mean, I think that a lot of it is, certainly the computational power that we've developed. There is a high speed computer. I forget what the name of it is. I'm totally blanking on that, but basically, it's kind of suspended. It's very interesting, but this thing can spit out computations faster than anything on the planet. And I think that a lot of what we studied in science has been applicable and applied to how we create computations and why technology is growing at the rate that it's growing. Certainly, I think that, space travel and how we will eventually have to find another home for us. And, I think that space travel is one of the most important things that we can try to develop. But how do you do that? I mean, it's not like the movies where you just, go to warp speed. The only way to really travel
man.
the only real way to travel between 2 points in space is to actually fold space. And so right now we don't have the power in which to do that because it takes an extreme amount of energy in order to fold space. Not time, but space itself. And eventually, the way that we're going to, these supercomputers are amazing. So
is that the one you were talking about?
Yeah, there's several of them around the world. I think IBM has one, stuff like that.
This looks like a weird way to say "fuck you."
It's amazing.
Fugaku.
Fugaku. That's funny.
Anyway, I just read it
so
wrong.
Fuck you, supercomputer.
Yeah.
So I think that that's the kind of stuff that I think is very attainable. I mean, I don't know within my lifetime, but I think that eventually we're going to be able to travel between two spots in space, and which could be billions of light years away, but traveling between those distances is impossible. But if you could fold space and match those two places at the same time, it's basically like folding a piece of paper and putting a pencil through it, right? That hole in space, those 2 points in space exist at the same time at the same place. And then once you unfold the paper, that's when they start to separate again. So it's basically folding two spots in space to be the same space. Mm-hmm. And so for a brief moment, you're sharing two different spots in space at the same time. You with me on this?
I'm with you. Okay. Am I making a blank face?
It's a very, it's doable. It's actually, I think that we can achieve that if we're able to get enough energy.
Here's the thing though, because I've heard the thought, you fold space and now you don't have warp travel necessarily. It's almost a teleportation.
You're occupying two different
quantum
spots.
Thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, aren't you fucking up space to do that?
No.
Aren't you messing up the space-time fabric to be able to pop the pencil through, put a hole in the thing?
No, because it's just a brief. It's fractions upon fractions of a fraction of a second. That it's happening, and who knows? Maybe doing this billions of times might, but I don't think that's really going to. I don't really think that's going to affect space. But then again,
go to this, John. This one with the Earth in the gravity well, or it looks like a gravity well. Open that one up and zoom in on that. So this is kind of interesting to me because maybe this is kind of what you're describing, because to go around the Earth there, it's all the way wide, right? Mm-hmm. But down in that little sunken thing, everything's a lot closer together.
Right.
So this is kind of what you're describing, like maybe a visual of it.
A little bit. I think that this has to do with gravity. And so
what is it that we're doing though? We're using gravity, and that's what the major power requirements are to.
Well, you're asking someone who's not really a physicist, but okay. I'm not even an armchair physicist. But I think that the fascinating part of I grew up loving Star Trek, and anything was star in the name of it. I loved it. And so for me, particularly space travel is fascinating because I think that there's just, the vastness of space is just scary and beautiful all at the same time. And it's constantly growing. And it's amazing to me. I think that that's probably the focus that is also most vitally important for us, is to be able to travel.
More so than just the repair of our existing surroundings?
Well, of course. But eventually at this point, we keep going down this path, we're going to have to find a new planet to destroy.
Yeah. For me, that's the struggle, is I love the space. You took the words out of my mouth. Anything with the word star in it,
right.
I'm all about watching it. And that's not always so cool and popular, but it's privately, I'm like, Star Trek.
Yeah, I'm a huge geek. Totally.
Stargate, come on.
Totally admit it.
Yeah. So I'm all about, if we can get into some kind of spaceship that'll take us, we keep finding these planets where we're pretty sure it might be in the Goldilocks thing. And
right.
The Goldilocks zone, for those that don't know, is like a planet that's within the same amount of parameters that our planet is in from the sun. And so maybe it has an oxygen atmosphere and all the right conditions for life. So even if there aren't primates running around with nuclear weapons on it, at least it's got the conditions for us to go travel there and live there. And so if we can find the little pencil push thing and warp our way, teleport our way over there, then now we have a new home. So do we invest all of our efforts into that, or into just repairing what we've got and just understand, like, this is it, man. We're never going to make it 600 light years, let alone 6,000.
Yeah, but it's it goes back to the you can't help others if you can't help yourself. So it's like, if we can't learn to live with one another, how can we live with one another somewhere else? I mean, we got a long way to go, philosophically as a species before we can really start to do that. But I think that there's going to be I'm very hopeful for a brighter future where we can all come together and realize that, there is something greater than ourselves, and to experience that, so that's the ultimate mountain.
I am too, man. I'm hopeful for the future of humanity. It's going to take a lot of work, and in the vein of Star Trek, like the aliens don't come and visit us until we've achieved a certain level of technology. Right. But in order to achieve that level of technology, the belief system is that we have to have already accomplished a certain amount of things as a species, as a planetary community. Correct. Like resolving all of our internal warfare, and sharing of resources, and finding a stable environment that we can all live. Yep. We're not going to develop this kind of technology to go meet the people out there or whatever until we have that. And I guess that's the belief system, right? In the Star Trek world. Exactly. So yeah. I wanted to look at John, pull up Dean's IMDb list. Oh, I want to hear about the Devil's Gravestone where you were a pimp.
Oh my gosh, that was I don't even know. Oh man, 5.4 stars. That's terrible. It's probably because of my acting. It was one of my first movies that I was ever in. It's terrible.
Well, the other one, more recent, it was an 8.0, which seems great. Deadly Charter.
Yeah, that was fun. Hank Slaughter was the director. He was a stuntman in Hollywood before he turned to direction.
I'm more interested in you being a pimp, though. Can we find any clip of this?
That was so long ago.
Is there
am I even in that? I don't even know if I'm in that trailer. It's horrible.
I was hoping we could go. I was looking to see if we could find something.
Oh God, I don't even want to. I see them. It's so bad. It's so bad. But anyway,
tell me about you being a pimp, though.
I remember this one scene that I had to do, and I think it was a vampire movie, right? And so I'm in an alleyway in Deep Ellum filming the scene where I'm like with my girls or something like that, and I get attacked by a vampire. And so I had this scene of like me yelling bloody murder in the alley in Deep Ellum, surprised that cops weren't called on us. It was just and then
another Tuesday in Deep Ellum.
Well, it was funny because they had to film the shot of me getting dragged off camera, so there was like this I don't know, it was like the boom mic operator who like put down the mic just to like grab my feet and pull me off camera really quickly, and it was like on concrete, and I was like, it started to hurt after the fifth take, and I was like, okay, I'm done. And it was a short scene. I don't know. Certainly not a main character role, that's for sure.
Yeah. Did you have the like, yeah, man, I'm the pimp? Like,
no, I don't know. Of course I had swagger, man. Yeah, of course. Okay. Yeah.
You didn't do the voice?
I owned the streets.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you just like? Yeah, I'm the pimp. Like,
I guess. I don't remember. Okay. I don't remember. God, that was 2010. That was a long time ago.
I was hoping you had the fur coat with the hat and the whole.
I had something.
Yeah, what's up?
I had some get up, gold tooth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh man, the cane, the whole 9 yards. I don't remember what I was wearing for that.
What's the tough guy thing? Did we have the Deadly Charter thing up, John? Is this?
That was cool. I think you can rent that on Amazon, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's the tough guy thing? I don't think we could find a picture of.
I was at a bar. I was at a bar filming. It was actually, yeah. It was at a hotel up north.
Okay.
And then it was at this bar scene. Actually, this scene, but I don't think... I think this is just the teaser. Yeah, so he's a hitman, and I go in, and I don't know, I'm just some douchebag, and I make fun of him or something like that, and I get my ass kicked. It was great. Yeah,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. But it was cool because the director was a stunt coordinator, was a stunt man. So I mean, the stunts it was really well done. It was really cool.
Okay, I'll have to watch this.
Yeah.
And then we found one more.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, demo scene. Oh, great. You really did pull out these. This is embarrassing. Okay. Wow. I was not expecting to walk into this. Wow.
This is the one we could find with you, like you featured in it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's my house.
Well, I wasn't going to say it out loud.
You know how hard it was to walk into my own home and act like I've never been there before. That's called acting. That's called acting.
That's nice make believe there.
Yeah.
That's
oh
great.
Man. Yeah. It was fun.
What is this
Eddie Henderson. I think I just knocked that.
Oh, knock the camera.
Yeah, I might have. Anyway,
All right, we'll send.
We're good. Okay. So, yeah, Eddie Henderson was directed this bit. I think I'm security, so she's like some
on
famous.
Your face.
She's some famous singer or actress or something like that, and they were private security.
And what are you guys about to get it on? Because she's got the
something like that.
She's
I don't
got
know.
the look on her face.
Yeah,
and you're trying to play it cool.
It's kind of like what's that movie? Was it Bodyguard or something like that?
Yeah. Kevin Costner. Is that what this is?
No, it's not. But it kind of like looks like it. Yeah.
They even did the Whitney Houston where it's
right. Yeah, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Now I see what we're doing. Actually, I never really put that together until now I've watched that. That's wow, that's funny. Yeah. I enjoyed acting from time to time. It's been pretty fun.
Yeah. So I told you I did the commercial. We can stop that. But
yeah, we can please stop that.
I told you I did the commercial, the roofing company.
Yeah.
Just randomly threw a thing on Backstage.
I love it.
And some lady contacted me from a recruiting thing. Like, hey, do you want to do this commercial where you're a fireman? And I was like, sure. Yeah. And so the thing that surprised me, it was hours of singing this one little jingle.
Yeah.
It's me and two other dudes and a Dalmatian. And they put peanut butter in the dog's mouth. So it looks like it's singing. It looks like it's singing. So
that dog was living his best day.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah.
Getting fed, force-fed peanut butter. But we're singing this jingle. It's only like a 10-second thing. And we spent hours singing this dumb song. And sorry, no, it's not dumb to whoever's listening. But
yeah,
it's great.
But
it's for their commercial. But for us, we're like at the end, and we have to maintain the same smile and the same energy.
Right.
Singing this thing.
It's exhausting. How long did it take for you to get that song out of your head before you went to bed every night?
Oh, I dumped it the next day.
Oh, good for you.
I dumped it. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's hard to do.
I shut it down.
Yeah. Smart.
It was out.
That would drive anyone mad. Yeah, it is. It's exhausting. I mean, you're literally. That's what, a 3-minute scene. We did it all. Took all day.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Our different angles. Yeah, it's exhausting work. No one really understands. Like you do a scene over and over and over again because the director wants different camera angles, so you have to set up the camera differently. But that means just setting up all the lights differently and all the sound. And I mean, it's a lot. Yeah, and then if you have extras, you have to reposition them. It's nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, and if a guy had a thing in his hand and then you did the take and he didn't have it in his hand, and you're like, oh, we fucked up. We got to...
Yeah. Continuity.
Yeah.
Yep. Continuity is a huge thing.
I pick up on that a lot in movies and shows.
Yeah.
It bothers me so much. Like, you had one thing to do, man. The guy just had to hold the drink.
Right.
Here's the thing I don't understand is the actor should have remembered I was holding a thing, and now I'm not. Like,
true, but I mean these.
Yeah.
There's some actors that are smarter than others. The one thing that really gets me is in action movies when there's like this assassin or some badass and they're holding a gun so wrong.
God.
Like so wrong.
Oh God.
There's this new show on Netflix called The Night Agent, and in like the first episode, there's like these two badass like agents, and the woman was literally holding her gun like this.
Oh
and
God.
I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay. So I immediately lose interest in shows like that. Like if you can't if you can't teach your actor how to like properly hold a weapon, like, you know, look, a lot of that's hard to do. I mean, Keanu Reeves is definitely, you know, outside of those bell curves, right? Like he's just an actor who's immersed themselves into like learning how to handle a weapon. But most actors just have no clue what they're doing. And, you know, you force them into a situation like as a casting director, I would want to see that, but then again, the casting director probably doesn't know how to shoot a gun either. And plus, you know, a lot of this stuff is being filmed in studios in California, so I mean, we don't need to go there. But
yeah, well, shout out to my friend Ken. He was in Ukraine with me, but he has a business out in it's called Rock Seal out in Korea, and he does a bunch of things, but like he does military consultation, law enforcement. He has that whole angle of the business, but he also has the military advisory stuff. For any filming that goes on in Korea,
awesome.
He goes on set and like sets the record straight. Like, no, you got to hold it this way.
That's
when you turn
awesome.
the corner, you got to do. So he does that. It's not a primary source of what he does, but it's like he's been in there's some stuff on Netflix we could find that he was in, and then movies that are on Netflix where he was advising. But it bothers me so much, man.
Yeah.
When I see people doing it wrong, and even the John Wick stuff, it's definitely like. I'm trying to find the equivalent, but it's like it's juicy action flicks for guys.
Yeah,
it's
it is
way over the top.
Way over the top.
One dude can't
super exaggerated.
One dude can't handle 100 bad guys. It's just he's gonna get smoked. There's no way he can maintain that level of.
No, it's totally Hollywood.
Yeah. But the other thing is like where he does the brass check with the one hand.
Right.
It's like just use your other hand is just sitting there.
Right.
Like, use your other hand.
You just use your other hand.
You have another hand.
Yeah.
Like you're not.
The one show that I've heard is the best and most accurate is SEAL Team. It was on CBS.
I haven't watched it.
It's fantastic.
Really?
And in actuality, that really is. I've heard from like former operatives and stuff like that. It's like the most legit.
Okay.
Of any show.
SEAL Team on where?
It was on CBS, and then I think that it was on Paramount Plus.
SEAL Team show.
Mm-hmm. That's it. It's so good.
Oh, so it's still on. That's six years.
Mm-hmm. I think they renewed it for another season. Yep.
Okay, so David Boreanaz, Max Theriot.
Yeah.
You guys all have hard names, man.
I know, right?
Neil Brown, thank you.
They're really good. They're really, really good. I think the acting's fantastic, but the way that they handle weapon systems and the way that they work is probably the most appropriate to, you know, how they do it. Yeah.
That's cool.
And the uniforms are actually appropriate too.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. I'll check it out. I don't like the long, drawn-out stuff of seasons of shows unless it's something I'm very specifically interested in because it drags out where they fill in a lot of chatty stuff and drama.
They do,
like
but
it's
I mean,
not real.
One of them this last season, and it doesn't really detract or give a spoiler away. Has to do with mental health of soldiers.
Oh, that's good.
And it's been very well received within the community, military community, and I think that it's the first show to really devote almost an entire season, if not 2 seasons, I think, to that particular situation. It's a build up to one of the characters of why it happened. And I think it's really, really neat. It's really cool.
Really good.
Yeah, I think you'd really enjoy it actually.
Okay, I'll check it out, man. SEAL Team.
Yeah, SEAL Team. Show. I think it was on CBS, and I think now you can stream it.
It looks like
it's
streaming on a few things. Yeah, I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Go back, John. Hit the back button. It showed. YouTube. You can do a subscription, I guess.
Yeah.
Prime Time. So I don't know.
Paramount Plus is where I watch it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta do the Paramount Plus because now the new Star Trek stuff is on there.
It's so good.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Have you been watching Picard season 3?
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, you know what? You know what they're doing? The last 2 episodes are going to be at the IMAX theater in North Park.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, I put myself on the wait list, but the whole website crashed when I tried to get on there.
Oh man,
I think every Trekkie in Dallas tried to get on there. But
is this the last season? They're not doing another one?
This is it.
Oh, dude.
I know.
Okay, because it's season 3, episode 9 just came out yesterday.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, I won't say anything then.
Yeah, don't say anything,
dude. it's hard not to feel the cynical part of all what they've done with movies and TV shows in the last few years because of COVID.
Right.
Like Disney's done a massive cash grab off the Star Wars stuff, and it's like kind of hurt the whole franchise, I think. So, but season 3 is a blast from the past, nostalgia.
Totally.
Awesome time.
Yeah.
I mean, wait till you watch this last episode, episode 9.
I mean, I tear up like of all the
great.
wonderful memories. Yeah.
Oh, dude, this one's going to be, wait till you watch it.
We used to
call me after you watch it.
Okay, I will. Yeah, we used to watch The Next Generation as a family and sit around on like Friday nights, and I would record it on VHS. Yeah, and it was awesome. Yeah, good memories.
Yeah, this is great because what they've done is they're reminding you of all this awesome stuff that you remember from TNG, the Next Generation, but they're also introducing this like mega enemy thing.
Oh,
and
cool.
It's so, I don't want to, sorry, I'm done talking about it.
It's
good.
Yeah.
But I
think it's really cool.
Have you watched Strange New Worlds?
Yes.
Is that good?
Yes, it's very good.
I haven't watched it.
They're all good. Discovery is good. Strange New Worlds. They're doing a fantastic job with that. And just kind of, I like it. I really do.
I'm having a hard time with Discovery.
I love it. I was too. I actually stopped it and I came back to it and give it some time.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm expecting a certain thing. I'm expecting a Voyager, DS9 vibe, and even Enterprise, But then I'm getting this thing in Discovery where it's like, what are we doing? I don't understand what we're doing here.
Keep with it.
It doesn't feel Star Trek. It feels like some other deal.
Keep with it.
Okay.
Keep with it. Yeah.
See, what are there, 4 seasons?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
They're coming out with another one too. It's good.
A new show?
No, another season.
Oh, okay.
I think they're coming out with another. I don't know. Star Trek's really
go to this. Do the Star Trek Discovery. Are we? How are we looking? I know you had other thing. Oh shoot. What are we at? Next season will be the last, the 5th and final season, arriving in early 2024. So they've got 4 already. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love the Michael Burnham thing. I love how it's kind of a Starfleet officer in disgrace is now rising to the challenge and getting into the captain's chair.
Yeah.
That's cool because usually it's a captain that's already proven and they're great and everything's awesome. But this one, she's basically like in jail, and all of a sudden now she's coming out and they need her all of a sudden. But the thing was it season 1 or 2 where her mom is like a time traveling quantum person and all like, what are we doing here? I don't understand this.
It pulls out all the stops, but I mean, somehow they tie it all in. I like it. I mean, they really do. It seems desperate in its angles, but they do a really good job. It's like a slow burn, and it really does come together. Stick with it.
Yeah, I will. I'll get. I think I left off somewhere in 3, or very beginning or something, and I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
So I'll get back into it.
Get back into it.
Yeah, because there is something within me that's like, I want to have watched all of Trek for some reason.
Yeah.
Good or bad. I didn't do Lower Decks, though.
No, I don't.
It just feels
goofy
goofy and
just hard pass.
Yeah.
Sorry if you watched that show.
But it's like a kid show or something, isn't it? Or
I don't know.
It's like the Rick and Morty of Star Trek.
Yeah, it's like the Rick and Morty of Star Trek. It's weird.
Yeah.
And of course it comes on like as soon as you finish an episode, and I'm like taking my dishes back to the kitchen, and it comes on. I'm like, oh, what is that? Like, why are my ears bleeding? Yeah. I think it's stupid, but whatever.
Yeah, and then Prodigy, I think, was straight up kid show.
Yeah, it was.
I gave it a couple episodes just to see what was up, and I was like, it's just.
Yeah, I don't really watch it.
This is not canon.
Yeah, no.
I'm not counting this.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. But yeah, but I don't know.
You doing any acting stuff now? You got any auditions?
No, I mean I had some auditions and stuff like that, some casting calls, but it's I do it whenever I can.
Yeah.
So I got cast in a new film, but it's as one of the main characters. There's 4 brothers, and I play one of them. But it's a long script. It's like 97-page script. But I think the filming has been delayed. We're supposed to film in March, but I think it's been delayed for a while. But
how does that work? So when did you do the audition for that?
So it's another film by Hank Slaughter, who did Deadly Charter. And so this new one is Possum Kingdom.
Oh, that's on your IMDb credits. Okay.
Yeah, so it was in pre-production, and I play Barry.
Okay. So you haven't filmed yet?
No, we have not filmed yet. We haven't started filming.
It's amazing. They already got it up there on the credits and everything. That's cool.
Yeah. So the someone else has to put it in IMDb. I can't put up my own resume. Someone has to do it for me. So yeah, those are all.
When did you audition for that? Like, when did you go out to?
He actually, I'll do a tape of some of it for him just because the investors want to see it. But because of my role in Deadly Charter, he asked me to come back for this film.
Okay. And when did he ask you that?
About a year ago.
Okay.
I think something like that.
So these projects are pretty long stretched out, like in terms of like when they actually.
Yeah, small small budget films usually are, because there's just so many moving parts, and when you don't have don't have a studio throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at it, it's tough. You got to get all these like moving parts, and it's like herding cats to try to get it off the ground. But once it's done, it's pretty cool. It's really fun. Being on set is a fun experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be fun. I have the one thing to speak from, but it was a good time.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah,
it's fun.
It's cool. They're like, hey guys, the camera guy's gonna do his thing, so you can just hang out in the green room, and we'll come get you when we're ready. And so you're hanging out in the green room and just
it's cool.
You're about to go on camera with these people, but you're just vibing out and having a good time.
And, it's a good time.
It is a good time.
So I like it. Kind of gets me out of the comfort zone again. So. Do something fun. Yeah,
dude. That's one of the things I've always appreciated about you is that you dabble in a lot of different things.
A lot of different things.
Yeah. You're a busy
Life
dude.
is too short. Yep.
That's right.
I know. I'm busy for sure. So.
Yeah. Well, we've got these couple parties coming up here.
Yeah, that's gonna be really fun.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yep.
Big thanks to you and John for
absolutely
helping to.
Yeah.
Carry this weight. For those that don't know, we're John, another friend of ours, and Dean here is going to be putting together a little party for our nonprofit Ukraine Independence Fund, and so it's just really helping to just put some momentum together for the nonprofit, and so thanks a lot for that. I know you do some nonprofit work, man.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
we did the I don't know, what did John call it, the Adopt a Kid Day.
yeah, exactly.
We did the thing for the dogs.
Yeah, the dogs and cats. Yeah, that was fun. I've been involved with that for a long time. Pause in the City, and then
Pause in the City. That's it.
Yeah, and then I'm on the board for the Children's Cancer Fund, which is pretty neat. We have our big gala coming up on the 21st, April 21st. So that's pretty neat. Give a lot of money to cancer research and helping kids out and stuff like that. So
that's awesome, man.
Yep, it's really neat.
Yeah. So these parties, we got the end of this month, and then May 20th, we've got the big shindig for everybody to come and dance and drink and eat. And
it's going to be fun.
Just donate to the guys that are doing their work out in Ukraine. So
that's right.
It's good stuff, man.
It'll be good.
Brother, thanks for coming out, man.
Thanks, dude.
This is fun.
This is a really good time.
You're
good. Right. Time goes by real fast.
Dude, I looked down. I was like, oh, my
God. I was like, I'll just come over for like an hour. We'll shoot the shit. And I was like, okay. Wow. We covered everything, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, we just talked, dude.
I mean,
fast.
Checking the news, and we've solved the Israeli-Palestine conflict.
Solved it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to us,
I'll have to work on that, on like tightening up the window of conversation points. But
no, it was fun. We covered it all.
Brother.
Yeah, man.
All
it was
right.
good. We'll do it again.
Love you, man.
Thanks, dude.
See you.
Appreciate you.
Bye, everyone.